And I'm David Barrett. I'm a member of the P-20 Council, and I serve as a I'm also a small business owner. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. And one of the things that I have to point out is a few housekeeping rules. So if you want to use the Wi-Fi, it's free, it's available. The password is guest access. That's all one word. It's the only spelling test of the day, GUESTACCESS. And it's all lowercase and one word, so you can get that in. There's restrooms outside on either side of the reception area. If you have a cell phone with you, will you please put that on silent or vibrate right now so we don't have any interruptions? It's a non-smoking facility. In the event of a disaster, go out through the exit signs, wait for the MC to go first, and then follow. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Hand over heart, ready to begin.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, just to show of hands, how many of you were familiar with P-20 before this event? Oh, that's pretty impressive. Thanks. So for those who are not, the P in P-20 stands for preschool, and the 20 is the end of the line, you might say, with grade levels. So just like a high school senior would be a 12th grader, 20 represents going all the way through graduate school. So what happened in Ventura County many years ago, leaders or educators who were involved in preschool all the way through the university experience got together and teamed up with members from nonprofits, business, government, military, to work together to make sure that our students could succeed whether they go on to college or go into careers. Stan Mantuk will more eloquently describe what the mission of P-20 is, but I wanted to give you that information. But to achieve that goal of making sure that students succeed, education must collaborate with business to understand what the graduates actually need. So that's part of why this first ever summit was designed, was to promote that kind of collaboration. Today we're going to hear from a cross-section of speakers. We have a business-focused panel presentation that you'll enjoy, and after that, Q&A with the audience to hear from you as well. And to make this more of an interactive event all day long, we're going to ask you some questions that we'll get your answers from in real time. So to explain that interactive technology, it's my pleasure to introduce Dave Shermer. He's the Director of Communications for the Ventura County Office of Education, and he's going to walk us through using our cell phones for something called Slido.
Thank you, David, and thank you all for being here on this day after the long weekend. We did ask you to silence your phones, but now we're going to ask you to pull out your phones because we're going to be using them to vote on some survey questions. So we're going to start with this screen that tells you how to get to the website you're going to need to visit. It's called Slido.com. So just on your phone, go to that website. If you use Chrome or Safari, whatever you use to visit the web on your phone, Slido.com. If you need help, if you don't use your web on your phone much, just ask a neighbor. I'm sure someone will show you how to do it. And once you get to that website, Slido.com, you're going to see a box with a hashtag where you can enter this code, which is also on the screen. It's VCES, VCES. And Andrea, if you could put up question number 1. And if you've done it correctly with the code, you should see this question on your screen. Are folks seeing it? Okay. Now we're getting the votes. So it's a sample question. How long did it take you to get here this morning? You can see the results showing up live. So far, 16 to 30 minutes. not too bad for Southern California. So there you get a feel for how that's going to work. We're going to move on to the second question, which is a little more relevant to our topic today. And Andrew, if you can put that up. How many vacancies does your organization typically fill per year? So go ahead and put in your answer for that. Okay, yeah, 1 to 10 seems to be in the lead for that question. And throughout the morning, we're going to be asking additional questions that will help inspire the discussion that we'll be having throughout the day. So this was just a chance to make sure we're all comfortable with using the system. You all passed, so congratulations. And now I'll send it back to David.
I apparently need a new phone. I'm still waiting for the app to come in. I have to look into that. All right, so to get us started, it's my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Ventura County P-20 Council. This is the organization that's bringing you this event. Stan Mantooth is the superintendent of schools for Ventura County, a post he's held since 2008. He's about to begin in January his new term in office as a champion of K-12 education for all students. Please join me in welcoming Stan Mantooth.
Thank you, David. And you could have gotten that phone last Friday. Maybe today would be a good day as well. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. One disclaimer, I say this every time that I'm up here, because of the nature of educators and the general public. Only people in the first 3 rows are going to be eligible for the Hawaiian vacation draw. I would also like to welcome everyone and thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Your lives are busy and Mondays are usually busier than most, particularly after a long weekend. But it's our hope and it's our expectation that we're all going to come away with this with a deeper understanding and appreciation of our need to strengthen our relationships. But first, a couple thank yous I think are in order. Number one, I'd like the members of the Ventura County P-20 Council who are responsible for hosting this event to stand to be recognized. It's not everyone, but not a bad showing. And also our partners, the local chambers of commerce from Conejo Valley, Camarillo, Moorpark, Oxnard, Santa Paula, and Ventura. I'd like their executive directors to stand and let's say thank you. And another relationship that we value greatly and have for many, many years. Anyone who's on the Ventura County Workforce Development Board, please stand and be recognized for your help with us. Educators, universities, community colleges, local school districts. I'd like the presidents, chancellor, district superintendents, and trustees to stand and thank you for your service. The people that did the heavy lifting for this behind the scenes, and they're going to be responsible for the publication you will walk away with at the end of this morning. And those are the public information officers and communications directors for our educational agencies. Please stand and let's thank them. You notice most in the front row, and one time off. And last but not least, the facilities staff here in VCOE, which is our home, for their setup and maintenance of this environment. David said, a couple words about P-20 and this morning's schedule. People always ask, well, what does it do? What is it for? It really has 2 major charges, and they're overarching. First, to concern itself with the entire spectrum, from early education through college and career, and to articulate all those points along that particular continuum, and to also ensure timely and effective communication across all those domains that comprise that spectrum. This morning, we want to continue on to work on another leg of the stool besides just students and education, and that is the business community. We want to work on that third leg to build strong and meaningful connections to you. And today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from a number of folks from both sectors and to engage directly in conversations about where we should be headed. Not just technologically, but with the panel as well, and at the break. But I think I came across a really interesting statement that I think was very apt for this morning, and it comes from Peter Drucker. Anybody ever heard of him? He said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Do we have some challenges ahead? You bet we do. Speaking of K-12, when you combine our 20 school districts, we serve almost 150,000 kindergarten through 12th grade students. And out of that total, almost 60% are Hispanic, 31,000 of which are still learning English. 54%, or over 74,000 of our student population, are low income, and they're eligible for free or reduced price meals. And just under 13% of our students have special needs. Here's another one. Just a show of hands, how many of you have heard the term opportunity youth? Not too many. Not too many Atlantic magazine readers, I guess. Opportunity youth are those individuals who are 16 to 24 years old, who are not in school, they're not working, and they're disconnected from the networks and services that are critical to the success that they could achieve. Nationwide, it's estimated that there are 5 million young people in this category. That's 1 out of every 8 in that age group that would otherwise be pursuing a job or furthering their education. And I've got to believe that Ventura County has its share as well. So that is not only a challenge, but a true opportunity. And although we see the urgency of our mission and continue to make great progress here in our county, we have yet to make more than incremental dents in what we call the achievement gap, which is why the quality of our efforts is defined by more than just one metric. It's not only about academics. We know that in order to maximize learning, our children must have more than just that. Our new California dashboard, appropriately enough, now has metrics for things like suspension and graduation rates, chronic absenteeism, and college and career readiness. Those are measurements that can help us understand the social and emotional supports. Over the past 5 years, we've dramatically grown career education opportunities in K-12, not only at the high school level, but our real holy grail is reaching down into middle schools, affording more time for kids to explore their interests, and they find that this works like one big circulation system. Our communities, and that would include all of us, place their children in our charge. We serve them along that P-20 continuum. They, in turn, take jobs and responsibilities in their communities, hopefully, and send us the next generation of students. And the cycle repeats itself. Then, now, and always. This is a shared commitment, I believe, that is in everyone's interest, and why everyone has a stake in making the circle as strong and vibrant as possible. I think that's enough from me for now, and let's turn it back over to David for our next speaker. Thank you again for being here today.
Our next speaker is California State Assembly Member Jackie Irwin. Assemblymember Irwin represents the 44th Assembly District, which includes Oxnard, Camarillo, and Thousand Oaks. She is a member of the Assembly Higher Education Committee, in addition to being a P-20 Core Council member. To give us a state government perspective on career education and workforce issues, please welcome Jackie Berman.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you for having me here today. I always appreciate the opportunity to participate in these discussions. And yes, I will be talking a little bit about what went on in the legislature last year, and there's probably a little overlap with what some of our other speakers are going to be talking about. I was also asked to project what's happening, what's going to happen next year in education, and that's a mystery. We have a new governor, we don't know what his priorities are going to be. Generally speaking, my top priorities for education in Ventura County and for the state are delivering a 21st century workforce. And this includes making sure that we address the projected shortfall of 1.1 million graduates by 2030, according to PPIC, by, among other things, improving access and completion rates, and making sure that education aligns with workforce needs, and addressing a rapidly changing economy, which will require workers to be lifelong learners as jobs disappear and new skill sets are needed. And a lot of work has happened in the legislature in the last few years to try to address some of these issues. In the K-12 arena, we spent a considerable amount of funding on career and technical education. We started with a 3-year program with one-time funding of $900 million over 3 years. And in last year's budget, much to a lot of people's relief, we funded ongoing $300 million each year to be spent on career technical education. And locally, we see a lot of work going on, and I'm sure, like I said, you're going to be hearing about this from the County Board of Education, community colleges, and groups like the Manufacturing Guild to try to align education and county workforce needs. At the community college level, colleges are gearing up to provide the online community college, which was one of Governor Brown's big initiatives last year. And this is intended to serve workers seeking to improve their skills. The online community college is yet another tool that will help develop work skills for those who are part of the 2.5 million stranded workers, people who are older than 25 and have finished high school, might lack a college degree or certificate, and could benefit from additional training to progress professionally. And this is just one solution to making higher education more accessible to Californians. Through partnerships with employers, industry sectors, organized labor, the online community college will offer skills that match jobs that employers are looking to fill. The college will create career pathways to include vocational training, strengthening skills, and credentialing support for career education jobs in growing industries to ensure strong labor market outcomes and alignment with future educational and career pursuits. And the online community college strongly aligns with the California Community College System's vision for success, the goal of better serving working adults. This is something that we'll continue to monitor in the legislature next year. In addition, the governor also changed community college funding by giving extra monies to community colleges that support low-income students. In his final budget plan for 2018-2019, Governor Brown is moving beyond the traditional formula that funds colleges primarily based on how many students they enroll. Philosophically, he's doing basically what he did with K-12 and the local control funding formula. Under Brown's plan, no community college campus would receive less money than it did in 2017 and 18, but half of the future funding would be tied to enrollment size. A quarter would depend on how many students receive financial aid, and the remaining quarter would be tied to the number of degrees and certificates that are granted and the share of students who complete them within 3 years. The new formula seeks to improve incentive this gives every student the opportunity for free tuition. Colleges to be eligible have to adopt a series of reforms, including partnerships with K-12 schools, additional guidance, and other changes, including minimum course load. And the idea is that if you pay for the first year and these students are taking a minimum course load, that you'll be able to accelerate them through the community college. I also authored AB 705, which reforms remedial education and should get students into courses earning college credits more quickly. We think that this aligns well with the community college's guided pathway programs. That is supposed to help students graduate more quickly. And of course, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that this fall, and I'm sure we will hear more about it from Dr. Beck, we opened the engineering program at Cal State Channel Islands. Studies have shown that Ventura County lies behind the neighboring counties and does not have enough engineers. Many of you are very likely familiar with this shortage. Having a local program makes it more likely that young engineers will get internships at local firms and hopefully stay in the county. So as you can see, the legislature has put a great deal of effort into investing in our educational system to ensure that California students have access to a world-class education and support services. We want to ensure, and I will continue to work with you to help implement, promote programs and fund programs that will ensure that we're developing a workforce for the future needs of Ventura County and for California. So I want to thank all of you for the great work that you are doing in making sure that Ventura County continues to move forward. Thank you very much.
Usually when Jackie and I are on a stage together, it's because I'm moderating the debate and I have to keep cutting her off after 90 seconds. I think she was looking at me like, when is he going to interrupt me again? It's a pleasure to let her speak the whole time. So if you have to leave early, I just want to mention, Stan talked about a handout. There's an education report available at the end of today, but if you leave early, look for one of the staff out there, see if you can get a copy. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Patron Pulls. For most people, the road to success in the workforce begins before college, before high school, before they're even ready for kindergarten. The first years of life are a critical time to build a foundation for learning and for social interaction. To tell us more about that, please welcome the Director of First 5 Ventura County, Patron Pulls.
Good morning. It truly is a pleasure to be here with so many business and education leaders from our Ventura County, especially after a long weekend. I am Pedro Pauls, I'm the Executive Director of First 5, and I would like to, even though the P stands for preschool in the P-20, I would like to argue that learning actually begins at birth, and so therefore P really should stand for prenatally. We'll work on that stand. I am here today to really talk to you about why investing in our children is really the best investment that all of us can make. Learning truly does begin at birth. The slide here tells us that 90% of a child's development really does happen before age 5. 90%. However, we don't invest 90% of our resources into its first 5 years. In Ventura County, we have approximately 60,000 children between the ages of 0 and 5. And what happens to those 60,000 children not only impacts their future, but truly all of our future. So I'll tell you in a second why that is. A few words about First 5. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Prop 10 was passed in 1998 by the voters of California in recognition of how important those first few years of life are. It is a 50-cent tax on tobacco products, and as such, it is a declining revenue. And since our inception in the 20 years we've been around, we've created some very innovative programs, and we've created a system of care throughout our county for our children prenatal to age 5 and their families. Since our inception, 20 years, we've invested $195 million in Ventura County's children, $195 million and counting. That's a lot of money for our 0 to 5-year-olds. What we're most known for are our neighborhoods for learning, NFLs, and we've used as lower Cal F. staff so we don't get in trouble with the big boys. We have 11 geographically defined NFLs in our county. And within those NFLs, we have 25 family resource centers in most underserved neighborhoods throughout the county. Those NFLs look a little different depending on where you are in the county. Oxnard may have slightly different feel than, for example, North Harbor Simi. As does Ojai, each community truly reflects what the needs and the resources are in those communities. But basically what you'll find if you walk into one of those NFL family resource centers is you can find support for parenting education. You'll find someone that will help families navigate the system of care, help them coordinate services, and access other services, health and social services like oral health. In addition to that, we're also funding some county-wide services. We partner with our local foundation to provide oral dental services, developmental screenings, preschool spaces, and specific services for mistake-of populations, as well as we're a co-founder of 211. As I said, First Five is primarily funded with tobacco tax revenues. It is a declining revenue source. And even though we've invested nearly $200 million, our job is far from being done. Over the 20 years, our investment has declined by almost half since our height. Locally in Ventura County, we've gone from about $12 million per year from our height to about $6 million this year. However, the needs continue to exceed the revenues that we have, despite all these wonderful investments we've made. Just a couple of statistics. You've heard a lot already from Stan about the makeup of our kids in Ventura County. 16% of children certified in Ventura County live in poverty. That's on average. When we look at other areas of our county, like the Oxnard Plains, we know that that number is as high as 30%. 1 in 3 kids living in poverty in our county. When that number is adjusted for the high cost of living in Ventura County, that number is even higher. We know that 37% of kids, 3 to 5, do not have access to preschool. And even more startling, 60% of third graders cannot read at grade level in 3rd grade. So what do the first 5 years have to do with business? You've heard a lot about the early years are very important. One way to look at measuring the success in the early years is the number of words children hear by the age they're 3. And what we find is that there is a huge disparity gap even by the time children are 3 years old. That accumulated word gap between lower income and higher income children accumulates to about 30 million. We call it the 30 million word gap. And what happens so many times is the kids that start out behind stay behind. It's very difficult to catch up. Another way we look at what the return on investment looks like is by citing Professor Heckman, who's a Nobel Prize winner from the University of Chicago. And he measured return on investment in the early years. And he found that depending on the population we're investing in, high quality prenatal to 5 programs return anywhere from $7 to $13 for every dollar invested. I'll put my money there. But not only do we see better outcomes in terms of academic achievement, there are also some of the soft skills that you as employers are probably looking for that we know have roots in early childhood education. Kids that have high quality programs perform better on standardized tests in reading and math in 3rd grade. They're less likely to be placed in special education. They're less likely to be held a grade back. And they're more likely to graduate high school and go on to college, ending in successful careers. So in summary, what does it mean to invest in high quality education for business leaders? High quality education really builds a strong competitive workforce for today and for tomorrow. For today, as a working mom, I can tell you having high quality childcare makes sure that I can show up to work every day, knowing my child is taken care of, I can focus on work, and I can be productive. If you have employers, if you have employees who have to worry about where the child is during work hours, they will be less focused and less productive. It also supports retention and recruitment of the current workforce. With all the research I've just cited, it's very clear that high-quality education also builds our future workforce. We may not see returns for the next 15 or 20 years, but those early foundations are really, really important for building the academic and social and soft skills for the next generation. It reduces the achievement gaps. They talk about the achievement gap. We call it a school readiness gap. We want to make sure that children come to kindergarten ready to learn, prepared to succeed. And it also builds communities with a competitive workforce advantage. If you're trying to recruit employees, having high quality early education accessible will help you retain and attract skilled workers today. And what can you do today? Some of you may have participated in our Take 5 and Read campaign. This is a picture of our now retired Sharon Jeff Dean, who has been a wonderful supporter of early literacy. It only takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to read to a child today, and that truly can change the trajectory moving forward. And we look forward to partnering with you as we continue our journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. Before our next speaker, we're going to go ahead and turn to our live survey question. Alexa, bring up survey question. So please get out your phones. You may have to hit refresh to bring up the latest question. We're asking about how difficult it is for you to find qualified applicants. As you can see, you can change your votes as well. While you're doing that, I'll point out that we're actually tabulating and keeping these results. It's going to be part of a survey and data that we're going to retain at P-20. And we'll have a survey that we're going to send out to every attendee later after this conference to get more input from you. Well, that's about 2/3 almost find it moderately difficult as results. But I think the thing that we all have to focus on is that only 9% are finding it not difficult at all. Well, let's learn from one of our other educators. Ventura County is home to 3 community colleges that are part of the Ventura County Community College District. Its campuses in Moorpark, Oxnard, and Ventura serve more than 30,000 students each semester. To tell us about the key role of our local community colleges play in preparing students for careers here, please welcome the District Chancellor, Greg Gillespie.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. David mentioned that we do serve, over 30,000 students each semester in our 3 community colleges. And community colleges do play a central role in helping to create the workforce we need today and preparing the future workforce as well. When you think about community colleges in California, they serve over 2.1 million students a year. And to give you kind of another gauge of the size of that, 1 of every 4 community college students in the nation is a California community college student. So the state's really investing in community colleges, and they've increased that investment, particularly around the career education side, to really help prepare people for the jobs that are needed in our local areas. So of all the students we serve, they're served at our 3 campuses, Oxnard, Moorpark, Ventura colleges, as well as the Ventura College East Campus in Santa Paula. We offer classes in the high schools, we offer online classes, and working to offer classes in the workplace as well. The community colleges really serve as a bridge to employment. When you think about those 32,000 students we're serving each semester, the majority of them are there because they want to have a career. And so it's our responsibility to really work with our industry partners to be creating relevant programs that can help them achieve those goals. And some of those students are going to get a career right after attending community college. Some of them are going to transfer, get their career after they've completed additional work at the college and universities. We're kind of in the middle between the K through 12 system, the college university, the four-year system, and we take that role really seriously to develop strong partnerships both with K through 12 and our other higher education partners. Career pathway development has been a real priority here in the county. There's been a Career Pathways grant that has really helped create some career education pathways from the K through 12 system to the community colleges. And our goal is to actually have students obtain 15 to 30 college credits while they're still in high school through dual enrollment classes offered in high school, through taking online classes, or at our sites. Now, what can help make that even more valuable is linking work-based learning activities with that, whether it's internships, job shadowing, tours, guest speakers, because the more that our students can develop a passion for a career, see the relevance for them investing in education, the more likely it is they're going to complete and be well trained and prepared to meet the workforce, and hopefully make you as employers getting trained workers easier there to occur. The state's been investing in community colleges, and particularly on the career education side. The Strong Workforce Program has provided over $12 million to our community college district over the last 3 years. And the intent of those dollars are to enhance existing and to create new career education programs. And that's been used to do that on the healthcare side of things. Started the diesel technology program. Agriculture has been benefited from this investment. Cybersecurity, manufacturing are just some examples there of where some of those dollars have gone to create new opportunities for students to meet job demands. And when we look at meeting workforce needs, that happens through regular credit courses, through non-credit courses, and now we're looking more into pre-apprenticeship programs, integrated adult education and training that results in awards of completion, certificates, degrees for high school students, for adult students, for incumbent workers. So there's a broad range of activities that we're doing to create a spectrum of opportunities for students and to meet the workforce demand, because some jobs out there require a short-term certificate. A student could take 9 credits, 12 credits, and have the skills they need to enter into the job field. They can work, then they can move, take another program that may lead them to a degree. Eventually, they then go back to work and decide to transfer. The key thing is to really support students throughout that continuum, leading to a trained workforce for employers, as well as opportunities for our students here, because our goal is to really train local Ventura County residents for the high-wage, high-demand jobs in our county here. And we can really only do that well with your help, because you can really help us understand the demand side of the labor market, what's needed. It's in our responsibility to work with you to create relevant programming on the supply side to be providing then those individuals that you need for the careers that we have here in the county. And it's only through partnering with you as businesses that we can really have the internships, the apprenticeships, and these other work-based learning activities that are going to help our students be successful. Another thing, and again, this is something that Assemblymember Irwin referenced, is that we have a new performance-based funding model. And that additional accountability can be helpful. And it's not just getting credit and additional money for having students complete certificates, degrees, get their college level English and math done the first year, but also living wage attainment is another category there. So we're actually accountable for getting students to transfer or to move into a job. And so it's an exciting time for community colleges, and I think it really highlights the important role we play in helping to create the workforce that we need. So just in closing, just would like to mention that we are your community colleges. We really do want to work with you in creating opportunities for our students to be able to enter the workforce and have meaningful careers here. Our board has three broad goals: increasing student access and success, partnering to meet community needs, and effectively using our organizational resources. We can do those three things well by working with you and create opportunities for our residents to meet the workforce needs of our county. Thank you.
Before I introduce Erica, I want to share with you that today is the first day back for the Cal State University Channel Island students after the tragedies of the past 2 weeks. Dr. Beck will have to return to the campus immediately after her remarks to support those students. But we're grateful she was able to speak with us this morning. So the demand for college-educated employees is expected to outpace the supply in California by more than 1 million in the coming years. That's one reason Cal State University Channel Islands is working to grow enrollment and increase the graduation rate. With more on what's happening at CSUCI, please welcome University President Erica Beck.
Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me to speak with all of you on what I am affectionately referring to as Mission Impossible, Higher Education Edition. It's the one where the university president tries to convey everything she wants you to know about the state of education at Cal State Channel Islands in exactly 7 minutes. So hold on tight. I drank a double latte this morning, and I choose to accept my mission. I'd like to begin by telling you that Cal State Channel Islands is reimagining higher education for a new era and a new student population. We sit at the literal forefront of the future of higher education, and we've made incredible strides in the past 16 years. Our campus is singularly committed to serving a largely first-gen campus. We are transforming family trees for generations to come. We are emerging as a national role model in this regard. We have made history by successfully receiving $26 million in Hispanic Serving Institution grants from the Department of Education in less than we beat every Ivy League university in the country. We're very proud of that. We were ranked 26th in Washington Monthly's Best Bang for the Buck among universities in the West, and 21st in U.S. News and World Report's top public regional universities in the West. And student interest in education at Cal State Channel Islands is at an all-time high. Just last month, MSN published a national study entitled Colleges Where Applications Are on the Rise. I'm very proud to tell you that Cal State Channel Islands is number 24 in the nation on the 5-year average increases in student applications, and we are number 1 in the state of California. The greatest drivers of this demand, and yes, I am exhibiting incredible restraint by only telling you one, so I can complete my mission in 7 minutes, is the way that we teach our students, which is distinct. I suspect I don't need to tell most of you in this room that higher education has a great affection for tradition. We have traditions upon traditions. We have traditional language to describe said traditions. And if you think about all of this academic tradition, one picture comes to mind pretty easily, I think, and that's university classroom, often referred to as the lecture hall. And I often call this the sage on a stage model. And it is where a faculty member stands before a group of students, imparts their wisdom, the students passively absorb this information on their way to becoming college educated. But of course, we know for certain that the workforce that our graduates will enter upon graduation bears very little resemblance to a lecture hall. And we also know that it will require more than content expertise to build a thriving career and indeed a thriving economy in the years to come. In fact, given the rate of technological transformation and automation, it is increasingly difficult to imagine the future workforce. But we do know that the mere acquisition of information will no longer propel them to success as it might have just a decade or two ago. In the workforce of the future, our graduates will need to be able to integrate and synthesize information in new and compelling ways, and they will need to do so in dynamic and diverse teams. They will need to do the things that cannot be automated, the things that only humans can do. So at Cal State Channel Islands, our faculty are teaching beyond mere content mastery, beyond the sage on a stage model, to provide our students with immersive, hands-on learning opportunities in which they explore real-world issues. They are learning by doing. In undergraduate research projects, in capstone courses with our business and industry partners, our nonprofit colleagues, and our local municipalities, our students are serving as a social and intellectual resource to the community of which we are a part. For example, we currently have students working with Ventura County Public Health, analyzing a wide range of data sources to support our local community. Some of the students are looking at diabetes prevention, some are working on infant mortality reduction, and some have designed a prescription flagging system to assist with opioid addiction prevention. Others are studying the impacts of the regional wildfires throughout our community, including the recent Hill and Woolsey fires. At the root of each of these projects is the goal of preparing our students to address society's increasingly complex challenges. Challenges that will beg new lines of thinking, peppered with a great deal of curiosity and imagination. And one of the ways to arrive at new solutions is to include a greater diversity of thought when asking the questions. Decades of research tells us that diverse teams are more innovative and entrepreneurial, so our campus continues to foster a vibrant, thriving, multicultural campus community that is dedicated to advancing student success and eliminating equity gaps in student performance to support the state's ever-growing need for college-educated individuals. The cumulative impact of this work actually extends far beyond the educational attainment of our students. For every $1 the state invests in Cal State Channel Islands, we return $5 in economic output back to the state of California, the majority of which happens right here in Ventura County. And time and again, the data tell us that college-educated individuals have better social, economic, and health outcomes than non-college educated individuals. They are more likely to vote, more likely to volunteer, and more likely to become engaged members of their communities. So in other words, we all benefit from the individual educational attainment of our students. Education is not a luxury. It is how nations compete, it is how opportunity is created, and ultimately it serves to sustain our democracy. So on behalf of the entire campus community, we sincerely appreciate your support and your partnership as we continue to reimagine higher education for a new student population and a new era. I appreciate the invitation to speak with you all this morning, and I understand it will self-destruct in 5 seconds if I don't stop now. Thanks.
Erica has to leave, the provost at CSUCI, Jeff Chase, is going to stay here to answer any questions that come up later for Cal State Channel Islands. California Lutheran University was also impacted by the recent tragedies and actually served as a Red Cross shelter during the fire. So you can see that both of our university presidents have to do much more in the community than the regular job description would imply. So with that, I'd like to introduce Chris Kimball, the president of California Lutheran University. At California Lutheran University, inclusion, innovation, and investment are the 3 strategic goals for the next 4 years. At its campus in Thousand Oaks, California Lutheran is preparing more than 4,000 students to meet the demands of a modern workplace. And to find out more about CalLU's programs and its impacts, let's welcome Chris Kimball.
Inclusion, innovation, and investment are 3 things that we are committing ourselves to as a university over the next few years, but they rest on a core commitment that underlies all of them. That's a commitment to our students, whether they're students that come for a bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctoral program. We are committed to their success. And it's not just about admitting them, but getting them through to degree completion. There's nothing worse than a pipeline that has leaks along the way. And so what we're about is providing our students an education that allows them to be, on the one hand, successful, but along with that comes an understanding that some of their success should be devoted to doing good by others, to serving other people, to do well and to do good. The investment you can see on our campus, if you happen to come by, we're building a new building for the sciences, thanks to a wonderfully generous donor, Jim Swinson. That building is focused on undergrad research, where, like at Cal State Channel Island, students can work and learn by doing in the labs. We recently received a very generous major gift from a donor for our School of Management, who will get in a few short years a new building for them. The School of Management itself has been a remarkable place of innovation and incubation of ideas, thanks to its dean, Gerhard Offenthaler, who is here. Gerhard, would you wave? Thank you. Under their large umbrella sits Hub 101 and the Entrepreneurship Center. Hub 101 is devoted to providing resources, support, space, and community for entrepreneurs, for promoting economic development in our region. And they've made it possible for any undergraduate, no matter what their major, to take a minor in entrepreneurship. And as an undergrad history major, I wish I'd had that opportunity then. I probably wouldn't have been smart enough to take it. The School of Management has launched a new hospitality and tourism management program, one built from scratch based on industry feedback to meet the needs of that growing sector. Our new lead in that program, Dr. Stefan Cosentino, is here somewhere. You can also wait, he's back there. Stefan, welcome to Ventura County. Each of these things are about inclusion, innovation, and investment. 3 I's, but none of them happen without we. Individual success is always tied to team success. This event today is an example of the remarkable collaborative spirit in Ventura County. P-20 represent that and has been doing so for years. The tragedies of the last few weeks that hit our campus and others, not only the fires, but losing students and alums in the shootings. It was amazing to see how this county pulled together, as it did a year ago with the Thomas fire. And so what we have is this opportunity for Cal Lutheran to be part of the larger ecosystem of education, working with business, with nonprofits and others. I want to thank my friend Greg Gillespie for the partnerships across the public-private divide that the community colleges have struck with Cal Lutheran. So for students who want a different option for a 4-year degree can come to Cal Lutheran, particularly those who are going to widen the pipeline of Latino and Latina students going into teaching, going into the sciences. That kind of collaboration is a wonderful role model. Thank you for that. I could tell you a lot about the degrees we offer in our different schools, the work of the School of Management, the Graduate School of Education represented here today. I suspect that more than a few teachers, principals, superintendents have come through our program. Our Graduate School of Psychology, producing counselors, therapists for this region. But I think what I'd rather focus on are those examples of partnership with the broader business and nonprofit and educational community. I'm fond of saying, and my colleagues are very bored of hearing me say, that even though Cal Lutheran is a private university, we are called to serve the public good. That we are as committed to and for the community as any government-sponsored institution. We have, for example, our Center for Economic Research and Forecasting, CERF, that provides high-quality, accurate data and high-quality, generally accurate forecasting about the future, so that businesses here in the region can make good, solid judgments. CERF also offers innovative solutions to some of the really vexing problems that face us right now in the county: housing and water. Our Center for Nonprofit Leadership, under Dina Jensen's direction, many of you in the nonprofit world know Dina, know what a resource the center is. And even though people often don't think of Cal Lutheran as a nonprofit, we are one too, and benefit from the expertise at that center and recognize a stronger nonprofit community throughout the county lifts us all up. Our Center for the Economics of Social Issues, headed up by Dr. John Sheet Demouy. I know many of you are familiar with him and his work to explore the economic dimensions of social issues. Our Autism and Communication Center, out of the Graduate School of Education, providing resources not just for students on the autism spectrum, but for their parents, their caregivers, their teachers, and others. And we believe it's important to provide opportunities, leadership opportunities, free of charge to the public. Our Corporate Leaders Breakfast, run by Linda Fulford here in the front row, thank you, Linda, for that. The Matthews Leadership Forum and others are about giving back, about creating opportunities like this one to bring together. As Stan Bantu said at the beginning, it's up to us to make the future. Ventura County is in a remarkable position to do that. That future is one that will be bright because we're committed to working one with each other. We have every piece of the puzzle in this county, and the pieces fit together nicely. So I want to thank Stan and the entire P-20 team for this event, and above all, you for being here this morning. Thank you.
Go ahead and get out your phones. It's time for another live survey question from the floor. So assuming you're able to get back in, this is a question that comes up a lot, is the question about hard skills versus soft skills. Which one do you find most important in your applicants? And I know many of you probably feel, well, I need both. I need the hard skills that they know how to use the Excel and Office products and other things, the high-tech machines. But you also need the soft skills, the ways to show up on time, to schedule, to multitask. So we wanted to get a poll from you to just see which one you would pick as the absolute most important. So far, it's neck and neck. No. Go just a few more moments here, so we can crack a little higher than 200. Up in the upper right corner is the number that tells us how many people have actually voted. So that was a hard skill, by the way, to know that number. Knowing when to stop is soft skills. Okay. Well, thank you all. You can keep voting for another moment while I begin to introduce our next speaker. In its first Economic Vitality Plan approved last year, the County of Ventura identifies workforce readiness as a key area of focus. One of the primary advocates of building partnerships to ensure a stable workforce and a thriving local economy is County Executive Officer Mike Powers, who joins us today to tell us more. Please welcome Mike Powers.
Thank you, David. And good morning, all. What a room. This is amazing. I love the spirit. And it's kind of amazing to be here today to talk about P-20. It's one of those things that's a little bit like 211. So first you're explaining to people, what is it? Right? Now you're explaining to people, how can you live without it? How can we not have had this? It's so essential. And I really want to commend Stan Bantu for his leadership. It takes a lot to create something out of nothing. So great job, Stan. Really appreciate it. I hope I got that right, Stan. I couldn't read your writing very well. But I want to reference also something that Dr. Kimball said too, because I think P-20 really kind of galvanizes that collective community spirit. And that's what we have in our county here. The 2 degrees of separation, the trusted relationship, that's our strength here. Bringing this education and business communities together to leverage that and make us stronger is the power of P-20 and this conference. And to our education professionals, our chambers, and our business leaders, I just want to say thank you for the work you do every day to make our students stronger and to take risks and create jobs for our community. And now to come here today to help all of that to reimagine the way you're doing all that, I think you're just very grateful. From the county standpoint, we come here with humility and appreciation as to be your partner in whatever way you might be, convener, mobilizer, brainstormer, that's a word. But also, because we are the 2nd largest employer, we have 9,000 employees and over 1,100 different types of jobs. And so we provide a lot of internships and pilot programs out there. We want to be incubators for different types of jobs and programs. So that's definitely something that we can provide. But one of the things I love about P-20, it just takes this notion of making sure that we're identifying critical jobs. What a shame it would be if local employers have this great need for jobs and they have to hire out-of-county folks for those jobs when we have such brilliant people and students right here in our community. The other thing it does, it identifies needs in the business community in a real-time basis. You know, a lot of the things that we do, manufacturing, nursing, but also accountants. We don't talk about that much, right? We need more accountants, so put a little plug in there. But we also need to be nimble, particularly with the advances in technology, science, and manufacturing, with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. Things are rapidly changing, right? And so 20 years ago, we never had a job in our health system for informatics, but we do now. And what's an informatics person, right? Well, with the advent of electronic health records, it gives you a lot of information, actually. It gives you tons of information. But in order to aggregate that and distill that down into usable reports and dashboards, you need professionals who know what they're doing to do that. And it's a very high-paying job. So again, 20 years ago, that job didn't really even exist. And now we've got almost a dozen of them just in our county alone. Crime analysis, using artificial intelligence to look at patterns to improve prevention and solve cases more quickly. You heard Dr. Beck refer to population health management, looking at things like better managing our population with diabetes. And then manufacturing, we had this great conference, I see Sandy back there with CETA, to talk about manufacturing, all the things that are going on there. And if you get a chance, I really want to commend Dr. Alexandra Wright from Community College District, because she has mapped just about every certification program we have for manufacturing, and in one location. And just to see that come together is amazing. As you heard David say, the county, our board adopted its first ever economic vitality plan. And what we want to do is really just support all of you and particularly leverage existing groups like EDC, BC, Workforce Development, our education community, workforce, and the Workforce Development Board. But we also have 8 job and career centers. People might not realize that. We've served about 15,000 people through that in this past year. And if you ever get a chance to see it, it's pretty amazing. It's sort of like speed dating for employers and employees, but it really brings folks together. And that's exciting. Our county library system is a great equalizer too in terms of helping people with resume writing, access to computers and that kind of thing. And I just want to make sure our library director, Nancy Schramm, is here. She texted me while we were talking, just to remind me of that. So Nancy, I did mention it, right? But I already had it in here, I want you to know. Adult education and literacy, also very important. Again, we want to be the great equalizer. But apprenticeship opportunities that I touched on before. And all sorts of different areas, engineering, water management, clean energy. It's a whole raft of new jobs in clean energy as that's coming on board. Social work, healthcare, probation officers, mental health professionals, IT, and yes, library services. The other thing that's great when you work with the county too is it's mission driven. You're connected to a mission that's helping people and serving whatever role it is that you play. Another part of the economic vitality plan is the broadband coalition, partnering with EDC-BC to make sure that high-speed internet is available to all the small businesses and everyone in our county, including especially our local communities that frequently don't have access to the internet. So that's something that we want to map that out so we can work with our telecom companies to make sure that we're providing that all throughout our county. Lastly, I would say I think there's a really good example of this partnership that can be born through the work that you're doing here today is the apprenticeship consortium with our community college district and our workforce development board. And what that does is it brings business to the table to drive businesses through having the businesses develop curriculum. And they're doing that now in manufacturing to support areas of robotics as well as automation. But they're going to expand that to healthcare, IT, hospitality, and business services. So there's a lot of exciting things. The county's really excited, our board is really excited to be partnering with all of you. And the other last piece that I love about the work that P-20 and all of you are doing is it helps break the cycle of poverty. And we want to make sure that every child in our community has access and an opportunity to get one of these new and exciting jobs here. So I just say thank you for all of the work that you're doing here today, and I know it's going to make hashtag Ventura County even stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. And I got your text earlier telling me to congratulate you on a wonderful speech. I could read your text, no problem. Okay, with that, let's move on to our next speaker, Juliet Herman. In the past few years, the Ventura County Office of Education has secured more than $30 million in state funding to expand career education. This effort to connect with local businesses, the classroom instruction, be better aligned with the needs of our modern workforce. To tell us more about this is Juliet Herman, Director with the Ventura County Office of Education, Career Education Center, and VC Innovates.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. As Stan had referenced, the goal of the P-20 is to create these strong and meaningful connections. You heard from Petra the importance of early childhood education. You've heard from our post-secondary partners about the strength that they're building at that level, and we've heard from the county the opportunities that avail themselves. I'm here to talk to you about the work that VCOE has done in the last several years, highlighting high school and middle school levels, connecting students to industry-based experiences, and the outcomes we've seen in the past several years. Again, my name is Juliet Herman. I'm a Director for Career Education and VC Innovates, and I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. We have a changing landscape in career education, as I'm sure you've seen this morning. No longer is it the old school vocational education. Remember, those ones designed just for non-academic students who may be graduated by the skin of their teeth? Our shops today look very different. They look like a makerspace, or an advanced manufacturing lab, or learning how to program an electric car. What we know from our educational research and feedback from industry is that career education matters. By combining robust academics with advanced level technological skills, we can move into career and into the 21st century workforce. We are not preparing students for college or career, we're preparing students for college and career. All of our students will move into the working world, and we want to make sure that they are ready. Students are begging us. They recognize the need for combined academics and technical skills. They're begging us to shift our focus. The next generation is relying on us to prepare them for their future. We surveyed students, and here's what they have to say. I feel like being in a system that's pretty much ancient isn't really helpful. It's time for schools to prepare us for the future instead of the past. Just please do your best to change the school system to prepare our generation or future generations. Help us with our future rather than making us take classes that might not even use in our lifetime because of the advancement of technology. Students know. VCOE has been instrumental in moving the needle toward career education. VC Innovates was born in response to a regional focus on career education pathway development. VC Innovates Consortium model, headed by VCOE, under the strong leadership of Stan Mantooth, includes all Ventura County school districts and the community college district. VC Innovates is the mechanism that provides equity and access to students across the county to high-quality career education curriculum and career pathways. As Dr. Beck referenced, the need for equity for our students is vital. VC Innovates' mission is simple: to connect middle schools, high schools, and community colleges, and to connect schools with employers. This image represents the way that VC Innovates supports students through career education trajectory from middle school through employment. Students are exposed through guest speakers and career fairs. They become engaged during field trips and industry-specific events. They enlist by attending an entree to employment or taking part in a job shadow. They experience as they move into internship or apprenticeship, and finally onto employment. VC Innovate's outcomes over the past several years have been pretty dramatic. 5 years ago, about 900 students petitioned for articulated credit with the colleges. Last year, we had almost 4,000 petitions. About 6,000 essential career connections a few years ago. Now we are over 50,000. We have gone from 80,000 hours with employers, to over 400,000. And in our most significant growth yet, 18,000 students were enrolled in CTE courses a few years ago, over 40,000 last year. It's a pretty dramatic increase. Within the VC Innovates, the Career Education Center at VCOE holds a pivotal position. It is geographically centrally located in the county, offering industry-tailored curriculum and instruction. At the CEC, we hire industry professionals and create industry-standard classroom working environments to engage students in robust coursework as they move along their pathways. The CEC also serves as the home base and hub for VC Innovates, where we develop programming, work on curricular articulation, and manage multi-million-dollar budgets. The mission of the Career Center is to provide capstone courses for district CTE pathways and to provide internships for all students in capstone courses. Last year, we surveyed over 450 students and the results were clear. CEC students are engaged, challenged, prepared, and supported. They also know that the curriculum and instruction they receive is relevant and meaningful for them as they prepare for college and career. As mentioned earlier, industry certifications are a key component of career education. As Stan referenced, even at the state level, the recognition of trust. However, we're always looking to update and build on this list. VC Innovates Consortium is currently working to develop a workplace readiness certificate, something you've heard referenced earlier today. Students can take this particular certificate with them as they move into work, whether it's directly out of high school, after a few years of college, or once they have an advanced degree. Getting involved. We'd love to have you join us. Attend an industry event like Made in BC. You've heard a lot about manufacturing today. Made in BC is our signature event where we bring together over 50 manufacturing businesses, showing students and their parents all of the different products that we make here in Ventura County. Perhaps the hackathon, that's going to happen next week in this room, where you can spend 24 hours mentoring students through an innovative entrepreneurship experience. Maybe attend an entree to employment. Entree to employment happen every month and are industry specific. They provide an opportunity to sit and talk directly to students about their career aspirations. Host a field trip at your site. There's nothing more powerful than students seeing the work in action. Participate in an informational interview or even possibly host an intern. Whichever way you choose to get involved, we hope you will. Thank you for your time and thank you for your willingness to engage the students of Ventura County.
Few people spend more time focused on workforce development and career-related education than our next speaker. Alexandria Wright is the director of the Economic and Workforce Development Division at the Ventura County Community College District. She's here to give us her perspective on the workforce issues facing Ventura County. Please welcome Alex Wright.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As we've heard this morning, the 21st century has brought forward a new paradigm in workforce development, one that is really a duality in the system of supply and demand, where employers are seeking employees and workers that are interdisciplinary, entrepreneurial, and critical thinking, while workers over here are requiring educational platforms that attend to full-time employment, right? That can accommodate their needs to be both a full-time worker and continue their educational path. So with that, Ventura Community College District has invested in a handful of initiatives related to work-based learning. The first one I'd like to speak of is the apprenticeship initiative. You've heard that mentioned a couple times. To just give you a basic definition of it, it is full-time employment with a set educational path. That educational path is derived directly from the employer that that worker is working for. So it's very customized to them, where that employee can now work full-time and continue a path of lifelong learning using quality credit-bearing programming at any one of our 3 community colleges. We have been successful over the past year in a couple different California Apprenticeship Initiative funding opportunities through the State Chancellor's Office. This has permitted us the opportunity to investigate and further identify those top occupational clusters that have a high impact on our local economy. So to start this initiative, we're looking at developing programming in electrical and electronic technician training to satisfy the demands for aerospace and our naval commands, industrial machine mechanic training for the wide variety of manufacturing occurring throughout the county, in which we have about 7 different sub-disciplines in this county. We're highly diverse. And then also an enhanced and updated machining program. We are also looking at IT and computer science, investigating cybersecurity networking apprenticeship programs, as well as IT help desk programs. These again are intended to be the modern approach to workforce development, and we have been working closely with our industry partners, as was mentioned earlier by County Manager Mike Powers. We have now embarked on the Ventura County Apprenticeship Consortium that is led by industry, facilitated by the Community College District and the Workforce Development Board. Another initiative that we're looking into, and that we've actually already begun, is the pre-apprenticeships. This is a very novel approach to building a pipeline. It is intended for non-traditional students to train through an integrated education and training platform. What does that mean? It means technical training for entry-level positions in high-demand industry sectors, intertwined with the literacy and mathematics skills that is fundamental to adult basic education and work readiness. So through this mixture, we are experimenting with our adult schools, partnering also with our statewide unions and local employers to ensure that students, non-traditional students who would have never attended a post-secondary institute, now have access to both career and college pathways. And we are assisting in implementing a culture of lifelong learning with that. The goal of these programs, again, is to provide short-term technical training with literacy and mathematics skills, and at the culmination, every one of these students is placed into a job and will continue their education and training. We are piloting these programs across rural and urban areas of the county. We have started with residential building, entry-level residential building, caregiving, as well as assembler training and manufacturing. And we're looking at implementing a couple of more options come the new year. This has been a robust effort in conjunction with the Ventura County Adult Education Consortium. The last thing I'd like to mention is one of the things that Juliet just mentioned, which is a countywide work readiness certificate. We just saw the questionnaire on the screen of soft skills versus hard skills. The reality is they're both important, right? But fundamentally, we do need something for work readiness. So in partnership with, again, Ventura County Office of Education, the Ventura County Adult Education Consortium, and the Community College District, we are looking to decipher and develop a work readiness certificate that can be flexible, as well as attend to all of the demands that our employers are looking for. This would be branded and recognizable so that all of our Chamber of Commerce partners can use this as well. The format is likely going to be digital, something around 48 hours with a supplementary in-person contact to ensure that we have that person-to-person contact that can be used, again, for VCOE high school students, for community college students, for adult education students, for alternative high school students, right? To show that they're on their way to completing their preparation paths. This is most important for us at the community college level and in adult schools, because when we seek to go place our students, which is our #1 priority now, education and training right directly into placement, we are finding that our students really aren't prepared. They don't have their resume ready. They don't know how to look for a job. And it's not necessarily their fault. The modern era has given us this very complex array of occupational titles, and we don't exactly know what we're trained for, right, anymore. So what this program intends to do is make sure that we're ready for that we're efficiently and effectively serving the needs of our community college and post-secondary students, as well as our secondary students, and making sure that they're prepared for the workplace out there. So if there's any other interest in these programs, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can always find us through Economic and Workforce Development at the Community College District website. And thank you again for your participation this morning. It's wonderful to see everyone here.
Time for your cell phones. So we're going to switch gears in a minute and hear our panel of local business leaders with their thoughts on everything that we've talked about today. But before we do that, we have another survey question for you. So the question is, what is the biggest difficulty for your organization in the hiring process? And you can answer multiple questions here, or you can select multiple answers. You'll see the choices are an insufficient number of applicants, a lack of skills or training, lack of relevant experience, lack of credentials or certifications, and an unwillingness to accept offered wages. Now, I assume that last one is more prevalent when you have very low unemployment rates, but it's all important. So we want to know, what is the biggest difficulty for your organization in the hiring process? I think we can go a little bit longer, so we can get a few more votes. Sort of fascinating how it happens to be going exactly down in order. I don't know if that's just a random event or if that's the way people like to vote. But you can vote for more than one. Okay, well, while we're finishing up on this question, I'd like to introduce David Shermer again to come back up and lead us through our business panel.
All right, well, we are really excited today to have a distinguished panel of folks representing the employer community here in Ventura County. And as I call your names, please take your seats up here on the stage. Our first panelist is Vance Pulaski. He's the Deputy Technical Director at the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Port Hueneme Division at Naval Base Ventura County. And no, we didn't have enough room to put that all on the screen. But please welcome Vance Pulaski. Mike Soule is the president of Corwin, which is part of Sage Publishing in Thousand Oaks. Corwin publishes books and digital products to help educators grow and learn in their profession. Mike is a former chair of the Ventura County Workforce Development Board and is a leader in building bridges between business and education. Please welcome Mike Soule. Drew West is General Manager of Global Services at The Trade Desk, a digital advertising company that's undergoing explosive growth. It was founded in 2009 in downtown Ventura and has now grown to about 1,000 employees, and that number is expected to double in the next few years. Please welcome Drew West. Peter Zierhoff is Vice President at Haas Automation in Oxnard. Haas is one of the world's leading manufacturers of machine tools and employs about 1,500 people at its factory and offices. Peter is a driving force behind a number of educational partnerships, both locally and across the country. And please welcome Peter Zierhut. So we're going to start by giving each panelist a minute or two to talk about the role that you individually or your organization plays when it comes to workforce development and career education issues locally. So we'll begin with you, Vance.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for letting me participate. I got the call from Mr. Shermer about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and as a tenant command in Navy-based Ventura County, I was surprised that others in the Department of the Navy had missed out on an opportunity to come here and talk about the Navy and what that means here in Ventura County, because we don't have as strong a service as we need, as we require, if we're not reaching out to the community in events like this. So we will not miss opportunities to do that. So as the number 2 in our command, which is one of several dozen tenant commands in Naval-based Ventura County, represent a workforce of roughly 2,500 people. We have a budget annually of approximately $700 million, and that is spent in take care of the Navy that's out there today, wherever it is in the world. The bulk of that workforce is right here at Port Hueneme, and we're connected critically with Navy-based Ventura County as the overarching command, and with the air station out at Purdue, and the range work that we do in testing and evaluating the combat systems on our ships. The message that I want to convey today is simply this. Largest employer in Ventura County, Naval-based Ventura County, roughly 20,000 people come to work every day in Ventura County in support of the world's greatest Navy. We're one tenant command amongst that 20,000. We're open for business, and we're hiring. And we're hiring because we are in critical need of a series of skill sets that range from business to logistics to engineering to scientists to facility management. And that's because the Navy is growing. 286 ships today, growing to 355 ships over the next 10 years. We're not going to get there unless we get the right folks that are coming out of our colleges or coming out of our high schools and getting involved in the service in order to make sure that the fleet needs the care that it deserves in order to go off and complete its national and local missions. So with that, I thank you very much for letting me be here, and we're looking forward to the discussions to participate.
Thank you, Vance.
Thank you.
And Mike.
How do you beat that? We have no votes. Corwin is part of Sage Publications, and Sage is based here in Ventura County. We've got about 400 employees right up in Newberry Park, and hire everyone from folks who are doing picking and packing in our warehouses to PhDs who are editing our journals or writing books for us. Corwin is the K-12 arm of Sage Publications, and we're very involved both internally in workforce development. Our HR department is world-class in terms of the opportunities that are offered. But in an external standpoint, one of the benefits that we give all Sage employees, if they haven't finished their 2-year AA or their BA, we underwrite that so that they can go back, and those students, our employees, go back, and about a dozen or so folks get their degrees every year, which is we're really proud of. From a volunteer standpoint, I've certainly spent time as chair of the Workforce Development Board. Very proud of the work that we did with VC Innovates in bringing in what was then 20, and now I'm happy to hear $30 million to this community. The reason that VC Innovates was able to be as successful as it is and has been in terms of getting that original funding is because of events like this, because of networks like this, because of businesses that care and are willing to stand up and say, let's support local education and local opportunities. So very proud to be here, and look forward to talking more about other ways we can be involved.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I'm really tickled to be here and joining you. First, I'd like to give you a little context to the trade desk. We're the new kids on the block, relatively young company. Started out with 5 employees or teammates at the City of Ventura Business Incubator back in 2009. Since 2009, we've grown to approximately 1,000 employees with locations in 25 locations on a global basis. We're an advertising technology company, so we're one of those organizations that you're hearing about today that are driving new career opportunities, new career technical requirements and skills requirements coming out of the workforce. From an educational perspective, we work with educational organizations. We've actually just started, I think, our educational outreach programs recently. Over the last 4 years, we've been working very closely with some of the schools in the area, primarily Channel Islands University, or the California State Channel Islands. And we've worked in a number of cases, starting out in just career fairs, but moving into more collaborations with the Career Center, sponsoring some of the programs to help students become more career ready when it comes to resume preparation, interview preparation. We've even moved further into sponsoring coursework. There's a new course, or actually a first semester course that will be finishing up here at the end of the year with 20 students that are specifically engaged in studies around digital advertising. We see the challenge is that there are 5 opportunities really. One is to help students in our community grow and prepare themselves for amazing careers in the future technologies and future career opportunities that exist. The second is supporting our educational institutions and offering them an opportunity to offer new and advanced technology and career-leading opportunities for the students. The third is for our community, building up an opportunity to create high-paying, quality jobs here in Ventura County. And the fourth is the opportunity for our industry. We're rapidly growing. We've gone from 5 employees to 1,000 employees in a very short period of time, and we're going to double that in the next 3 years. And finally, so our industry really needs this, otherwise we're going to see headwinds when it comes to our strategic growth. And finally, the trade desk continues to grow and be successful, and we want to grow on a global basis, especially supporting the footprint we have here in Ventura County, which is our home. So thank you.
Peter.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Oz is certainly not Navy Day, but we are one of the larger employers, I guess, in the county. Oz Automation is involved in durable goods manufacturing. Not the most romantic of businesses, I suppose, involved in building machine tools, but we are 1,500 people here in Ventura County. We grew up in 1983, we were formed. We grew up in the San Fernando Valley, developed and grew the business there. And about 21 years ago, came to Ventura County, very happy to be here. Very involved in educational issues. That's one of my core focuses with the company. We see education as a really important topic here because actually involvement nationwide, we work with educational institutions across the country and internationally because a little bit different reason maybe than other people here in the room. For us, our customer base is manufacturing. And to ensure that there's a strong customer base of manufacturing businesses across the country helps ensure that our business remains strong. Because of that, I guess we're in kind of a unique position to be able to compare and contrast what happens here in Ventura County with programs that we see, educational programs that we see across the country. And that kind of gives us a bit of a unique view on what's happening here in Ventura County. We certainly see a lot of challenges here in Ventura County. In just the last few years, I've become much more engaged with the community colleges, Office of Education, Workforce Development Board, and other groups to try and at least get more involved and I guess be representatives as manufacturing-based employers. And that's a problem we see. I'd say the biggest challenge right now in the county, from our viewpoint, is the connection, the engagement of industry and business. In fact, maybe if I could just ask, I'm kind of curious, what I don't have a good picture of in this audience is how many people here are involved in private business? How many of you are private employers? That's actually more than I thought. Okay. Well, that's good to see because we we see the challenges is engaging business and industry. There's certainly a lot of talk, a lot of great things happening here in the county, but engaging industry in those issues is a big challenge. And we look forward to continuing the conversation of connecting business and industry with these issues related to workforce.
Thank you, Peter. Well, Peter, since you brought it up, I'd like to ask the panel, what could be done to improve engagement between business and industry locally? There's obviously a lot of good programs already in place, and we've heard about some of them this morning, but do you have any thoughts on what could be done to take that the next step? Anyone can jump in.
One of the pieces that was missing in everything that we heard this morning, and one that I would want to encourage, is externships for teachers, for educators. It's not enough for us to just be talking about what happens in terms of preparing the students, but teachers have to understand what it means to be an engineer, what industry looks like, and so we've got to involve teachers and educators much more in terms of opening the doors and giving them those experiences. That's what's going to make it real and relevant. And so I would just encourage that the P-20 Council take a look at that and look at the ways that we can open the doors of industry. I think that could serve as part of a bridge.
I'll take it from the other perspective. I think from a business perspective, we need to be more encouraging and supporting of getting our workforce, our team members out into the schools and the educational institutions around the county and around the nation to become active participants in helping drive that future that we're talking about creating.
I would just add that on the externship ideas, that's something that we're also exploring down at the Navy base, is that I think we are making great strides in reaching out in apprenticeship programs, internship programs, hiring the youth of America to come in and be a part of something bigger than themselves. In the case of here, we'd be a part of the Navy. What we haven't done as well in reaching out with industry and with faculty at the academic institutions in Ventura County or in Southern California. So that's something that we're actively engaged in now, and we very well may end up starting off a pilot with Cal State University Channel Islands. It's unfortunate Dr. Beck had to leave, but we're in conversations on our educational partnership agreement with CSUCI to bring one or more of those professors down to the Navy base during the summer in order to work on engineering projects that have real relevancy on the combat systems work that has to get done on our ship today, which means they allow them to go back into the classroom with that information of what's really important for the Navy, so that they can then change the narrative or modulate the narrative of what they're teaching the students in the classroom. And we can do some of those kinds of things with industry as well.
And did you have anything to add to that?
I think even though we're a larger employer, we're typical, I think, of a lot of industry or businesses across the county. And we're busy doing business, working every day to get involved. And it's unfortunate because our failure to get involved means that our voices aren't being heard. And the programs that are being built here don't always represent what we want, what we need. We need more engagement, and I would throw out there are ways to do that. There's a group here in the county called Workforce Education Coalition. I don't know if Mary Beth Jacobs is here, but she's here today. I thought that we really need to get together, and we need to bring more people into organizations like that can better represent the voices of business in these sort of issues.
All right, thank you. Vance, you mentioned educational partnerships, and for those of you who aren't aware, those are formalized agreements between employers and educators to address a lot of issues we're talking about here today. And I think more than one of you up here has been involved in some educational partnerships. Would you like to talk a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. Sure. So we have a series of educational partnership agreements with institutions of higher learning that stretch from San Diego to California all the way to Santa Barbara. And one of the things that I wanted to do when I came here was to turn the heat up on the execution of the tasks that we could do on those education partnership agreements. Because having come from the Pentagon before I arrived here, I was on the Secretary of the Navy staff, and I really had a unique ringside seat to the operational imperative that this country exists in right now, and the criticality of having the military as strong as it can be in order to address the threats that face us. And we're only going to do that effectively if we have the right men and women coming in and joining the workforce with the right skill sets. So when I saw out here that we needed to strengthen our EPAs, we started to take a real round turn, if I could use a Navy phrase, on those agreements. And with Cal State University Channel Islands in particular, we partnered with that institution, and we sat down several months ago, and we built a curriculum that was focused on cybersecurity that was going to address some of the critical needs for the military systems that we work on. And by working with Professor Michael Soltis on Dr. Beck's academic staff, we built that curriculum. We had 5 seats in that class for our workforce, and we have our students from our workforce there getting those academic skills that they will then be able to strengthen when they bring back to the workforce. Counterbalance that, when I showed up with Professor Soltis at the beginning of that class, which was in early September of this calendar year, he starts off the class with, here's the syllabus. I'm standing there right beside him as a representative of the Department of the Navy saying, all of you students in this classroom right now are going to graduate, and you're going to want jobs when you graduate, and we're ready to hire you. Okay, so there was some nods of interest. I says, no, I'm telling you right now, I'm ready to hire every one of you that's eligible in terms of getting a security clearance and so forth to come into work right now, and you get to sit here as a student in this class and continue your education as a member of the federal workforce, and then when you graduate, then you come down to the base and you get to work, because we've got work to do. So that's a real success story. And so that conversation that started a year or so ago is now starting to pay dividends, and we're now starting to hire. In fact, I met the first engineer that we've hired out of CSUCI in the cyber domain last week, or just the week before Thanksgiving, and that's going to continue to build. We're also doing work with the University of Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara, in terms of material science and corrosion control. As you'd expect, things that go to sea in a maritime environment are going to rust unless we take care of them with the new technology. So we're heavily invested in these educational partnerships, and we're going to get more. So I will say that VCOE is an area that we do have an agreement with. I do have a relationship with Dr. Tiffany Ward. We haven't done as much there as I think we need to, and this kind of a forum sort of helps re-energize and refocus where I think we need to apply some of our additional energy. So I'm looking forward to ramping up, if you will, with VCOE in 2019 and beyond.
Thank you. And Peter, you do have a partnership with VCOE, the Career Education Center, and we have a special classroom outfitted with Haas equipment
and support funding for a program at the airport, which does address the needs of obviously training that's short of.
Yes, it started out with guest speakers and evolved into more strategic thinking, where we actually worked with a couple of professors, Dylan Cooper and Taylor Nielsen, at the university to craft the curriculum around digital advertising, not necessarily a trade desk class. The objective is to put some wind in the sails of our industry, and give young professionals that are graduating an opportunity to taste what it might be to be in advertising technology, specifically the programmatic and the more advanced areas of that. So that class is ongoing now. It's going quite well. They're actually running live activities, so they're going to walk away not only with a certification that is recognized in the industry, but as well some hands-on experience of what it means to actually participate in various aspects of the industry.
All right. And now, Mike, did you want to jump in on this one? Okay. Andrea, if you could put up question number 4 that we asked earlier. This is where we asked about hard versus soft skills, and I think we saw, looks like number 6, looking for number 4. But we saw soft skills was really high, there it is, as far as what is most critical. So I wanted to ask Mike, because I know you've done a lot of work about how important critical thinking, decision-making skills are for students. Can you tell us why that's so urgent?
It's the future, right? It's what we look for at the end of the day is good judgment and decision-making. And so one of the things that I want to give a shout out to is good old liberal arts education, which, by the way, helps provide those things. So sometimes when we're talking about 21st century skills, we actually got it right in some cases. And so when you think about a good liberal arts background, what does it do? It allows you to be discerning, to question, to write well, to think well, to be logical and sequential, but also to be able to live in shades of gray, which is where we are now. And so yes, we need to have those hard skills, but as we know, especially as our economy is changing and education is having to change, and we're hearing this today in this sort of battle between things where it's all about what your career is, but the other piece and what research would show us is that what, at the end of the day, we want for our students is for them to own their learning so that when they go into the workforce, they know what to do when they don't know what to do. And so those are very important skills, and so a good liberal arts education, like at CLU or Cal State Channel Islands, is exactly one of the things that we need to encourage folks.
I would like to amplify that. We've hired half of my team out of Cal State Channel Islands, and very few of those individuals have come through with strong technical, what we would call the hard skills specific to our industry. But they have a great curiosity skills, problem solving skills, collaboration skills, communication skills, teamwork skills, and a bit of grit, willingness to really get in there and learn it and solve problems. Our industry is changing daily, and we brought folks in that have communication background that knew nothing about databases, and within 6 months we were able to bring those hard skills to their repertoire, and they're able to now navigate data analytics with some proficiency. So I think that the soft skills are foundational.
Yes, do you have anything?
I voted for the technical skills.
Forgive me.
So I can expand on that a little bit. So when you look at some of the statistics of our graduation, sort of population density of who are graduating and in what quantities, China graduates more scientists and engineers every year, and they have been doing this for many, many years, but every year more scientists and engineers are graduating from colleges in China than we graduate, period, in the entire United States of America. And so they are churning out probably some of the best and brightest people on the planet in how to leverage the new technology. And if you understand and leverage technology, you own the future because you're creating it. And so the technological aspects are so critical, but they must fundamentally be built on a foundation of personal skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills, critical thinking. I see it every day, and in fact, I was chatting with my boss, who is the tech director, over the Thanksgiving holiday, that as I was going through a series of performance evaluations on an annual basis where we evaluate performance of our federal employees, I was just shocked at the poor quality of writing about what we do and how important what we do is actually connected with objective quality evidence so that you can empirically evaluate one individual over another in a workplace in terms of performance. That's a simple area where I think we got to, so that's just writing as an example of the poorness, I think, that we have, that we've got to address. So for me, it's those hard skills that absolutely must be underpinned with critical soft skills in order to make the best, well-rounded individual that can possibly come out of these institutions here in Ventura County to be a part of a larger effort. So.
And I think the key we all know is that both are important.
Yes.
And Drew, when we were talking earlier, you mentioned an example of combining them.
Yeah, I was going to say, Vance, you didn't vote incorrectly. I think what we're saying is soft skills are foundational. We need to have them. Problem-solving skills are critical. But one of the institutions that we're working with in the Midwest has taken their advertising and marketing program or degree program and married it with their computer science and engineering program, and it's CS plus advertising and marketing. So the students that are going to graduate in that program are going to have a degree not only in the advertising and marketing aspects of the business, which are lean a lot more towards soft skills in my opinion, but also coming away with hard engineering skills. And I'd like to stress one that I see constantly coming up that I think we should all look at, not that there's a silver bullet for anything, but the ability to deal with data analytics, data-driven decisioning is becoming not only something that our business thrives on, that's who we are, but it's a skill that if you take it into any other industry, whether that's manufacturing or whether that's finance or whether that's healthcare, there's more and more data becoming available. We're able to make more and more informed decisions and make better decisions if we know how to navigate that area. There's this also this area, this term that I heard not too recently called data is the new oil. And when you think about it, if we have young people going into the workforce today that don't know how to deal with data and understand how to manage it, use it, leverage it, understand it, they're going to get left behind. And that's not just an advertising skill that the trade desk is looking for. It's a skill that I think many employers would benefit from.
Peter, how do you see this playing out in the manufacturing world?
Well, I certainly agree with everything I've heard as far as hard and soft skills, but I would also tend to vote for both because one, we have a lot of trouble finding people with competence to come in and work, whether it be on the factory floor or as a machinist, as an IT specialist, or as an engineer. The soft skills among the maybe lower level jobs is a serious problem. An engineer or someone that's been university trained or formally trained, I think, doesn't have that issue. But I think somebody comes in as a machinist or a factory worker, we're seeing situations where people can't even fill out applications. They don't know how to dress. They don't know how to interact with people, whether they're bosses or their coworkers. That's a serious problem. And in some cases, I'm not even sure it's a problem to be dealt with within the community colleges or adult training centers, because a lot of those workers are coming to us without any education, without any training, straight into the workforce, and we've got to figure out a way to get them those skills.
All right, thank you for that. Now, I think talking to all four of you in advance, it became clear that it can be really helpful if we look outside of the local area, other states, even around the world, for examples of how other communities are tackling these issues. And I'm going to stay with you, Peter, because I know that's something you've been involved with in other states, and we'd like to hear about that.
Training in other locations. So again, I'm going to stick with the focus on other than university level programs, because that is the biggest part of our employment, and I think the biggest part of our customer base across the country's employment. Factory workers, machinists, maintenance technicians, whatever it may be, and there are some great programs out there. There are really some good, strong programs out there that shine and generally built around, I'd say, champions, for example, people who have developed these programs and are engaged and work with industry to make connections that they need, and done some really great things. We actually put together a group here in Ventura County that went and visited some of those strong programs. I believe in best practices and looking at those programs and adopting the best of them here in Ventura County. We can learn a lot from what happens outside.
Anyone else want to share something they've learned maybe from outside of the local area?
I would comment that we've worked with organizations from an educational perspective, both domestically and internationally, and we're finding some trends that are quite interesting. One that's encouraging is we work mainly with universities and colleges, and many of those are moving more aggressively to engage business in creating co-created educational programs, whether it be from courses to degree programs. The other interesting trend we're seeing is collaboration requests to build virtual learning and educational computer-based training, video-based training, and certification programs as well. So, so some of the more creative ones are looking to break out of. I think someone used the term traditional model to really reinvent their educational delivery methodologies overall.
To add to that, one of the pieces that we're looking at is micro-credentials and the use of the blockchain and some other things in terms of training. We do training, we publish and we train teachers and administrators around the world. And more the requests are, how do we not just do the training, but then verify, validate that they actually learned something, either at the mastery level or that they went through an experience. When we look at the Carnegie unit, it's all about seat time. So as long as you can persist and get your 45 hours, then you can get your grade, right? Well, now people are looking for something that's much more dynamic in terms of saying, am I getting a real return on investment, both for the participant as well as for the entity that's paying them for something. So we're in the midst of this other sort of sea change that's happening from a training perspective. Other countries are moving much faster than we are in terms of how they're looking at it and how they're badging and credentialing. A lot of it is in the teacher education world is being driven out of manufacturing and the tech world, where they're looking for those kinds of verifications that you can actually do what you say and claim that you can do. So that's a really interesting one and a potential game changer, I think, for all of us.
And Vance, in your travels, have you seen things we can learn from?
Absolutely. So we are, in one sense, very much enterprise versus parochially focused here at Port Hueneme. What do I mean by that? It's that we're one warfare center that's focused on taking care of the combat systems on surface Navy ships. There's a lot that goes on a Navy ship, to include ships that are underneath the ocean surface, the submarines and the unmanned undersea vehicles and things like that. And so when you think about everything that goes on with the ships at sea and how to take care of them, that's a very, very broad industrial base, supported by academics, supported by research and development laboratories all over the country. So we are enterprise connected with 9 other warfare centers, all reporting to a headquarters command in the Washington Navy Yard in DC, which is then connected to an operational leadership staff in the Pentagon, resourced by obviously Capitol Hill. So all of that connectivity means that DNA tissue connectivity means that we're able to communicate better ways of getting after people quickly in order to bring them in where they need to be brought in order to meet the demand signals of those particular areas. Here's a case in point. So we kicked off something called the In-Service Engineering of the Future Initiative this past summer here at Port Hueneme. Because it's not just about today's Navy, it's what about the Navy in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? What's it going to look like? What kind of skill sets do we need? Data analytics is going to be critical to process almost instantly, not gigabytes, but terabytes, petabytes of data in order to truly understand what's going on in the battle space. So it's data analysis, it's artificial intelligence, it's understanding unmanned aerial and surface and subsurface vehicles, it's robotics, it's three-dimensional printing, augmented manufacturing in order to make the parts that you need in real time in order to keep a ship in the fight and so forth. So all of that requires new ideas to go after people in terms of internships and apprenticeships and partnerships. And so we are very much out of the old way of doing business, which was if it wasn't invented here, meaning at our command, inside the naval base at Port Hueneme, well, we're not interested. Well, we don't get to live in those days anymore, because if we do, we're going to die quickly if we get into the next fight. We've got to be more enterprise focused, and we're driven to it with this operational imperative, which means that these ideas are flowing free stream all the time. And I look to Dr. Ramon Flores, who's our Navy Science, Technology, Engineering, Manufacturing lead. Dr. Ramon Flores, if you put your hand up and wave, he's our lead for that. And then we Elizabeth Howell, who is our career field manager for engineering and human resources office. And so she's helping also craft our input into a larger Navy strategy about how to go after folks in order to get them employed where they need to in order to meet the demand signal. So it's a pretty exciting time to be a part of this right now.
All right, and by the way, in a few minutes, the audience will have a chance to ask questions, not only of our panel, but of the previous speakers today. So if you have questions rattling around in your mind, keep them handy, and we'll be getting to those real soon. Right now, I did want to ask Andrea if you could put up question number 5 that we asked earlier. And that was, what is the biggest difficulty for your organization in the hiring process? We see lack of relevant experience was the top vote getter there. So I'd like to ask the panel members, what's the biggest difficulty for your organization? If it's on this list or not, that's fine. So tell us about that and why.
When I saw this, I chuckled because I whispered to Mr. Greg Gillespie, the chancellor for BC Community College District sitting next to me, that it lacks one line item if you've had any business associated with the federal government, and it would be a bureaucratic red tape to the federal government. That has always been, and it is now, our biggest challenge, and we're tackling it in a number of ways in order to quickly knock down the timeline from you're a great candidate, you have an interest in, and we want you desperately, and here's the signal for the work that we want to do, and to close that gap from roughly a year or more to months. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we're at the same battle rhythm as industry, because they are very, very fast and efficient at doing this because they need to, because there's a profit motive in order to bring the right folks in order to meet the demand signal. And so we aren't driven as much as that, but we do have that operational imperative, and I'm using it every day to try to streamline from a year to less than a year.
I actually voted for the top 3 in a different order. I voted that we were seeing an insufficient number of applicants, and that's on a global basis. And then following that would be lack of relevant experience, and then lacking the skills and the training. So that's why we're going out into the educational environment to stimulate excitement around what we do, and hopefully increase the number of applicants that we see. At the same time, building up some theoretical and practical experience along the way within the classrooms if possible. And then we also have a certification program called the Training Academy. It's available to anyone, but it is a highly recommended or recognized certification program. So that starts the basic skills and training foundation that's available as we follow that journey.
Peter?
So lack of experience, I think, is most important, but I didn't vote for that. I think we've given up on it. Honestly, because there is such a lack of experience, people with experience in certain areas, we've given up on trying to find people with all the relevant experience in many cases, and resorted to just trying to bring in people that we can then train. That goes for, again, we're talking about factory jobs for the most part. And therefore, just applicants, a sheer number of applicants, or people with just basic core skills is what's most important right now. And that is a challenge, especially with the unemployment being what it is today.
The reverse is true here as well, is that we, especially in the world of cyber, and we had a recent experience here where we had an individual who came to us with 8 years of Air Force experience. He then joined the federal workforce in the Department of the Navy, and now he's working on cyber-related testing associated with Navy ships. And he's getting credentialed in a number of areas. And as soon as those credentials started to drop in place for that individual, he became very marketable for other agencies in the government and also other industry partners. And we lost him. We lost 16 years of experience in one fell swoop. And now we got to replace that expertise that just walked out the door. And listen, folks make decisions that are family-based on where they want to live in the world and the salaries that they want to command based on the skill sets that they have. I understand that and fully support it. I would have made the same decision if I was that young engineer. Now that individual is out the door, we have a critical vacancy that we now need to fill. And so we reach out via those education partnership agreements to starting to really turn the wheel quickly on who's out there, what kind of skill sets do they have, and let's bring them in. And in fact, we just made a hire out of CSU-CI in a critical cyber, particular cyber area that's going to help us on some very challenging problems. But that individual has just now joined the workforce just before Thanksgiving 2018, and it'll take a long time before he is where we were with the individuals that were walked out the door. So we're seeing the credentials and the experience in play, and then we lose those to other areas, and we start the process all over again. And it's just an ongoing challenge that we accept and we fold into our calculus.
And Mike, the biggest difficulty in hiring for Corwin?
It used to be geography, which isn't on the list, for two reasons. One, it was Ventura County unfortunately gets kind of put into Southern California, and so especially at the senior level, you need to bring people here so that they can see the quality of this community and school, so that then they realize, oh, this isn't Los Angeles, it's something beautiful. So that used to be a big issue. But now, much like everybody on the panel, we're based here, but global companies. And so when we decided geography wasn't going to be an issue for us, and we opened the aperture, our biggest issue now is exactly what you're talking about, but a little bit reverse. At the senior level, we're inventing jobs that weren't there a couple of years ago. And so we're having to do our own training or find other places, programs, certificate programs that we can send people so that they can get relevant information. And that data analysis piece is huge in terms of how we make decisions and where we're going to spend time. So we're in the midst of inventing it.
Okay. Before we get to audience questions, I do want you to ask one more question that you're going to vote on your phones, and we'll get the panel's thoughts on the responses. And this will be question number 7. We can bring that up on the screen. The question, which you will see, is what education-related services would be most helpful for your organization? And the choices we have are industry-specific courses, internships and apprenticeships, job shadowing, or soft skills training. And this is another one where you can choose more than one. So internships and apprenticeships is leading, and while you continue to vote, I'd invite the panel to weigh in on what you feel would be most beneficial, even if it's not on this list.
I feel like I'm monopolizing the discussion. Actually, I voted for the top 3 again, but in a different order. We see internships and apprenticeships is 3rd on the list. That's an outcome if we could get industry-specific courses in the schools built upon an already existing soft skills training platform that works. So many, as I mentioned, half of my team has come out of Cal State Channel Island, and those have come through the interns and apprenticeships. Cal State turns out a great group of students that have outstanding soft skills, and we're working on the industry-specific training now.
I would say the partnership that we have with Cal Lutheran has been extraordinary, especially at the entry level. I think we're a full-service employer of anybody who graduates with an English or literature major there, so we're proud of that. But all the interns that we have are folks who many times we end up hiring and bringing in. And so that partnership has been very, very critical to us. It's not specific. They learn on the job and is augmented by what it is that they're learning in the classroom. And the same thing with the partnership that we have with the Graduate School of Education. About 6 of those professors are authors of ours. And so being able to turn, again, to local folks who can use case studies that are happening right here in Ventura County and then be able to put that out into the world is pretty exciting.
Internships and apprenticeships, a lot of potential, a lot of promise there. I think in our business, because we work so much with small businesses across the country and in the county too, I'd have to say small businesses don't know how to use apprenticeship and internship. And that's a big challenge. We need to figure out how to help small business make that connection, utilize the internships and apprenticeships. And we need to build more programs that we connect to small business as well.
we take a lot of advantages available to us by virtue of internship and apprenticeship programs, and there's probably a half a dozen that are available to us in the Department of the Navy. One that comes to mind immediately would be the Office of Naval Research, headquartered in Washington, D.C., as a naval research and engineering internship program. And we and other warfare centers like us bring in students that want to take advantage of the coursework that they've just completed. Maybe they're a sophomore, maybe they're a junior, they're focusing on cyber, computer science, maybe they're focusing on data analytics, maybe they're focusing on physics or material sciences. We want those students to come down here and be a part of our command over the course of May, June, July, August, before they've got to go back into their fall semester and get exposed to who we are and what we do for two reasons. One is we want to take advantage of their current knowledge, so they're now applying their current knowledge on real world problems. And number two, these are people in many cases that have no other exposure to the Department of the Navy, that there are very few people in our country that have actually served in uniform or connected to the services in one way or another. And that has gone down over the years. And so by getting connected, by virtue of these things, we're now introducing America's youth to programs that allow them to use their skills and to be a part of something bigger than themselves, so that when they go back to the universities, wherever they're at in California or across the country, they're now going back and they're telling a good story about what this thing, the Department of the Navy, is all about. And it's not such a scary institution after all. It's actually something worthwhile and applying their skill sets for and getting the experiences. So we take a lot of opportunities here in maximizing it. And as you touched base on the earlier question about where we're thinking from an enterprise, we haven't figured out how best to do it yet. We're always learning. And so one of the benefits of being where we are is we get to enterprise with everybody else who's doing the business that we're in. So we learn good ideas across the country and apply them. So I would say that must be number one. And then I'll also say industry-specific coursework is important. So we just signed a cooperative research development agreement with a company called Aerial Alchemy, which is right down the road here in a tiny little town called Camarillo, California. And this little company called Aerial Alchemy is doing some fantastic work on unmanned aerial vehicle technology applications. So we want to take advantage of that and put unmanned aerial vehicles up and fly them around our ships and look at things that are going on topside that we may not have had a chance to observe before, just because you rarely get those top-down perspectives. So there's a wonderful relationship that is just now initiated with a company that's right here in our own back. Those companies take new ideas back, and now they're more competitive when they're trying to go after some additional work with the government or with other agencies on trying to further the technological edge that we so desperately need to maintain. So this is just all goodness with regard to what we're trying to do with the community.
All right, and before we open this up to questions, I just wanted to thank the panelists for all the perspective and insight. So please keep your seats, and David Marin is going to walk us through the next stage where we're going to take your questions.
Fortunate for the next 6 hours, we're going to take your questions. Okay, not quite as long as that, but we do want to hear from the audience. I said at the beginning, this is two-way. We want to hear from you. So the staff has set up one microphone over here, and I think we're setting up another microphone on the far side. We might move it in. But we want to hear from you, so if you have a question, just please feel free to walk up to the microphone. We want to catch it on the microphone rather than have you shout it out. So while we're waiting for our first brave soul, I'll ask some of the educators that are still here, what are some of your thoughts about what you heard from the panel? Perhaps Stan or Mr. Gillespie?
You know, the equal importance of technical versus soft skills, very interesting to us, because many times we hear, just give us some good raw material that comes to work on time, that knows how to dress. And we can teach the technical side. But finding out it's not quite that simple, that it's a complex marriage of all of those kinds of things. that was a bit of an eye-opener. I think the survey questions are very helpful in that regard.
And the thing that I would add is that it really emphasizes the importance for us to be engaging in new paradigm for education, because really it does need to be a lot more flexible for people who are working already and start to really engage the apprenticeship, internship model as a part of what we're doing, with really kind of focused stop points along the way, or these certificates, badges that can provide specific skills at specific times.
Thank you. One point out, if you have to leave early, please make sure you pick up one of the booklets that we're going to be handing out. I'm going to go ahead and start with this woman on this side.
I'm Velma Lomax, and I'm a trustee for Ventura Union High School District, but I've also, for 25 years, but I also taught for the Ventura County Office of Education, career intensive education for 19 years. And I have to say, wow, we have come a long way. I can remember when we first started with the Manufacturing Roundtable and trying to get businesses involved, and wow, that's all I can say is wow. But I want to say that what I really appreciate is the fact that, Peter, you're a little bit humble, but Haas Automation has a huge Haas Tech network throughout the world, and educators meet every year during the summer to share their curriculum, to share their ideas, to share how they get businesses involved in what they do, and it's invaluable for teachers. And we as teachers get an opportunity to use that for our professional growth to go up on the pay scale. And it's a great partnership. I know that you out at the Naval Base, many of my students have come out and been interns with you, and they've just grown, and they love the program out there. And I appreciate the two newer people that I don't know, that your businesses are talking about these things too, because it's awesome. But what I want to really say is that I retired 2 years ago and then I failed. I failed retirement, wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So now I'm still out there doing robotics and subbing and still teaching young people. So as you face retirement, you know a neighbor that's retired, in education we are going to face the world's biggest problem with lack of teachers. Get your retired friends to think about coming back into the classroom and impart the knowledge and the wisdom that you've learned over the years into our students, because what a greater thing than to help our students and come from somebody that's been in the business world and really knows what they're talking about. Again, I just want to thank you, all of you that are here, everyone that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years, and has helped me to be a great teacher, and helped me to have students that call me like they did at Thanksgiving and said, Lomax, thank you. I'm in my 30s, I make 6 figures, and I have a 401k.
Thank you, Velma.
I was worried it might take a while, but following Velma, it's going to seem short. After I retired, I became very engaged actually in a program Velma launched, and with the support of Tiffany Morris, our high school robotics program. And Peter has been very visible, very supportive. But we have students who compete where they have to CAD design, fabricate, assemble, wire electronically, and program to compete by being driven remotely for tests. And we have approximately 800 students in Ventura the last week of March. Our program, we now have 11 teams, which equate to about 100 students graduating from high school every year. And with the exception of Haas, again, through their support and visibility, our students have no idea that jobs exist in Ventura County that would need them. And I would say 90% of our businesses have no idea. We are turning out 100 students a year who can meet their need. How do we bridge this gap? And we're not the going program, but other than doing this monthly, how can we continue?
So I realize it wasn't a question, but I wanted to comment because you just heard from I mentioned the word champion earlier, you just heard from 2 of the champions in Ventura County that are out there doing the right things to engage young people, get them interested in careers and what may lead to either a factory job or engineering or even something beyond that. So they're there to be applauded.
Yes, sir. And Ed, as a former councilman, you did very well not to go on too long. Gentleman over there.
Well, I just have a very short pragmatic question for Mr. Prohosky. If somebody is seeking civilian employment at Naval Base Ventura County, and there's USA Jobs to search through. Are there other avenues to look for openings that are available?
So it depends on how you're going to come in the front door. So if you are a college student, well then there's a number of pathways to join the workforce via an internship or an apprenticeship. And every one of those pathways has its own specific requirements. And so there's an education piece that we're working on to get the word out to via those education partnership agreements, via forums like this, in order to capture that particular corpus of personnel. If you are post-education and you're looking obviously to join federal workforce, USA Jobs, usajobs.com is the preferred path. We have Liz Allen, who I mentioned earlier, out of the Human Resources Office, is representing our tenant command. And we're one of 24 plus tenant commands within the umbrella of Naval Base Ventura County. And so Naval Base Ventura County has its own website in which to get pertinent information to help, which will probably steer you to jobs or other mechanisms. But I would recommend if you touch base with Ms. Lazawa at the end of this, or her counterparts in the other tenant commands, that would be a strong recommendation from my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric.
Yeah, Eric Sternat with Interface Children Family Services. Thank you guys for your time and wisdom this morning. So I have a gift, a comment, and a question. The gift is 211 is a information referral service that should be a benefit to any business here to make sure that your workforce is maintained well, productive, handling all other challenges of life so that they can be attentive in their work with you. The comment is that in our community in Ventura County, nonprofits have only 50% of the money to work with compared to LA, Santa Barbara, and California as a whole. So we have a lot of work to do. If you live here, you got to give here. If we're going to look to the nonprofit sector, we're going to be there for our community and our businesses. And that is really my question: is how can our nonprofit community do a better job of supporting your workforce here in Ventura County?
Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, Jill Schaefer sitting in the audience, one of the challenges that we have with our workforce is they're young, they're coming out of school, they're getting great high-paying jobs, they're getting married, they're starting to have families, and they want to buy homes. And homes are hard to find. Affordable housing is hard to find, and it's crazy for me to see folks that are on my team making the salaries that they're making, still not able to qualify, in some cases, or find a home that they can afford. So that's just one example. I think each of us has to look at those challenges that we're confronting and find the partnerships that can help us change and create that future that we're looking to create. So.
Could I just add one other piece, just a twist on what you asked, which is a word of advice from one business person to another. Oftentimes, companies decide, or they see that there's a need in the community and begin to invent something themselves. And in many cases, you don't need to do that. There are folks who are specializing in that work, who are scaling it, who have proofs of concept, or have the facility to be able to do it. And so I would encourage people to reach out to the foundations that we have, as well as to our chambers, because they're the ones who often can scale those programs in a very, very meaningful way and sustain them for the long term.
Thank you. And for the provost, Jeff Chase, did you want to add something about nonprofits?
No. So I just wanted to build on something Dr. Beck said. One of the things I really appreciated about the gathering this morning and the comments we've heard from the panelists is this incredible connection that all of our schools, all of our preschools, kindergartens, elementary schools, high schools, middle schools, colleges, universities have with this community, and how important it is for those connections to continue to develop. At Channel Islands, one of the events that I find so exciting every fall is the Science Carnival. And the Science Carnival that happened a few weeks ago, we had over 3,000 people show up, and we had children of all ages, from all backgrounds, suddenly realizing maybe there was a pathway they didn't know was there. They could pick up a starfish, they could shoot a ping pong ball, and suddenly there are opportunities. I also wanted to just mention very quickly, I think Leah may still be here, the Hanglakayo internship program at Channel Islands. One of the things that we know is critical is for us to create these pathways for students to have internships, for those people, as already been mentioned, Trade Desk is part of it, Haas is part of it, Naval Base is part of it, where we can blur these lines and see people moving back and forth. So I really appreciate all the work you're doing, and somebody else can talk about nonprofits.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, speaking about the Hank Ohio Institute, Gary Cushing, the executive director of the Camarillo Chamber, has worked with that institute in the past to help connect interns in the city of Camarillo and throughout Ventura County. So all of our chamber executive directors are another great resource for you to find out how your business can get involved with education. This one young woman has been waiting patiently. Let's hear from you, please.
My name is Lexi Smith. I'm with GeoLinks. We're a telecommunications company located just south of Hartman. And I have a two-part question. Great segue off of the housing market comment.
Talk into the microphone.
Do you end up finding it difficult to remain wage competitive, being very near the LA market? If not, or if so, how do you go about determining what is wage competitive in our company?
I'm sure, Drew, you must deal with that all the time.
That's an interesting one because of the growth in this industry and the shortage of talent related to what we do. It's driving wage growth up quite high. We live in a high cost of living area already, but we have offices in New York and London and Sydney and Hong Kong. So some of the salaries that we are paying appear to be quite generous. But at the end of the day, we do market analysis and competitive analysis. But at the end of the day, it's we're buying talent in the marketplace, and we pay the prevailing wage.
You know, we feel that we have a competitive wage at Haas Automation. I think our minimum today is $15 an hour, and it's getting set to go above that next year. Nowhere near enough to pay for our home. You know, again, the factory workers is part of the issue there, but even for our professionals, engineers, et cetera, IT professionals, very, very difficult here in Ventura County, as everybody knows. The cost of here is significantly higher. The cost of homes is significantly higher, and that's always going to be a challenge. So one of our alternatives is to draw people from outside the county, but something needs to be done.
On the federal side, so we'll never be competitive with industry with a federal salary, which is widely available. Just go to the Office of Personnel Management website. You can see what a general schedule that individual is making based on where they would come into the government. So recognizing that, we have a couple of other things that we use to try to incentivize the personnel coming in. One is the medical benefits, dental benefits, federal employee health benefit program, which is a very, very good program to be a part of for medical and dental. The thrift savings plan for 401k is also extremely cost effective and helps build an individual's nest egg for an eventual retirement, 30, 40 years of federal service. And then we also play obviously on the being part of something larger than yourself in terms of the commitment of the work that you do, and then connecting those dots to the defense of the country. But I will tell you that it is a tremendous challenge to try to, even with all those kinds of things that you can bring to bear, it is a challenge to take advantage of getting the folks to be a part of this organization here because of the cost of living. Now, when I left the Pentagon in Northern Virginia, which is Washington D.C., is a very expensive place to live. Locality pay and a promotion brought me out here to Southern California, and I can say that I lose $10,000 a year every year that I'm here as a federal employee compared to where I was in the Pentagon pre-promotion to come here. California is just that expensive. But this was an opportunity for family. It was an opportunity to take advantage of a great job and help lead this particular command into the future. Took advantage of it. But you hit on something very important, and we haven't solved that yet. And I don't know if we will, just because every day it's becoming more and more expensive to live here in this part of the country.
I think the only way that we've solved for it is what I said earlier, which is to solve for geography and allow people to live where they are. We do pay prevailing rates. We do all the benchmarking that's there, but it's a very expensive place. And the only other note I'd make is it's always striking to me the younger members of our workforce who don't live in Ventura County. They live in Los Angeles. They'll even go just to Woodland Hills not only because it's a little less expensive, but because of mixed use and other activities, that's where they want to be as opposed to here. And I think we're missing an opportunity that we need to look at.
Vance, I would say the $10,000 differential is well worth it to get away from the snow.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Shoveling 12 and 24 inches of snow every.
Lexi, you had a second part of your question, or are you set?
I asked him what.
Okay, you're good. I would point out, Lexi, that your point is what our educators have been talking about, that in Ventura County, we have to grow our own. We can't import enough workers for the high-tech jobs that are coming. We have to build them here, we have to grow them here, and have them stay here and take care of us as we get older. So I'm going to go back to the gentleman over there.
I'm Darrell Gooden with the Ventura County Office of Education, and first I want to acknowledge and say my appreciation for this excellent panel, and to also include in my acknowledgement the fact that as we are growing this, what I call the MARC Center with Dr. Tiffany Morse, which is focused on engineering, it's focused on manufacturing, and it's a combination of things, but more importantly, the alignment. And I have a question that's, I think, a P-20 question. I just want to set the context. Basically, we are, through the grant that we received from ONR, in part from the donations made by House Automation, we are growing this mechatronics and manufacturing center. And what I've noticed is that although we are preparing high school students to matriculate into the program, both Ventura College has a very robust mechatronics program, which we're completely aligned with. And what I see emerging through some of the good work through one of our advocates, Mr. Bill Canine, is through Moorpark College, we have a basic conversation going on with the engineering department as regards to the radar program. And I know that Oxnard College, at one point, had a very robust logistics program. And so when I think of it, this is my thought. One, what I know is that Navy is the largest employer, but I also believe its per capita pays higher than anybody, including management. So all those things said, we're in perfect alignment when we get to the California State University of Channel Islands, who also has a mechatronics program. So we have this unique alignment that can go through all three of the community colleges, starting with our base center at CEC. And so my question is, if we get to that in terms of career readiness and college readiness, when a graduate that may have gone through all those opportunities can get to California State University Channel Islands, and I guess my question is really more for Vance than anyone else. An engineer that would leave Cal State Channel Islands, I'm wondering, has a conversation ensued between the P-20 about the fact that those engineers are not quite ABAC qualified the first few cohorts? So I'm wondering, the third or fourth year, they'll get their ABAC certification or accreditation. But for those first three graduating classes, is a conversation happening how we might deal with making sure the ABAC does not prevent them from making a...
So yes, the conversation is happening, and no, we're not going to let that ABET, because we know that the CSUCI program is on a path to get ABET accreditation. We're not going to let that become a barrier in getting access to the mechatronics graduates who I believe just started their first year in 18, so 18, 19, 20, 21. So we'll start seeing graduates in that program in the 2021 ABET certification will have been completed yet. We're in conversations via our EPA with Dr. Beck, Professor Soltis, and others over at CSUCI in order to eventually get CSUCI on a path to get that credit. But we're going to be hiring personnel as soon as they become available. This is a unique opportunity where for the first time in the history of this county that I know of, that there's an engineering program that's now available to us in our own backyard, graduating mechatronics students with electrical and mechanical engineering to meet the demands. We're hiring 300 plus people every year just in our tenant command. And we're one of about 24 commands within the umbrella of Naval Base Ventura County. And we're going to take those 300 plus people wherever we can get them because the work is there. We're going to get the 355 ship sustainment. So we're not going to use ABET as a barrier. And I'm sure that you're obviously very happy to hear that.
Thank you.
The operational imperative is just simply too great.
Please.
Thank you. I'm a trustee from Ojai Unified, so my question is a little more student-based, and also I'm a mother of 3 20-year-olds, in their 20s. So my question, when that comment came about relevant experience being the toughest part for educating, we have students who are finishing and can't get jobs because they don't have relevant experience. And the ones who are taking on internships are those whose parents can afford to pay for them to do an internship. So our students whose parents can't afford that are losing out on the better paying jobs because they're not getting the internships. So I'm wondering if P-20 at some point can sort of look into ways to help students connect with the businesses. And I'm hearing of businesses today that I've never even heard of. So we also have to have a way for businesses that are local to be able to let students know that if you're 23 or 24, whether you were educated in Ventura County or you were educated anywhere else in the U.S., but you grew up in Ventura County, that there are opportunities here. You don't have to take jobs across the country, that we have great businesses here that maybe we don't even know about. So I think that would be a great new sort of target for P-20.
Thank you. Alexandra.
Excellent question. Equity and access is absolutely pertinent if we're looking to build a competitive economy here and ensure that every community member has opportunity, right? So one of the things that we're doing in collaboration with VCOE and the Community College District is using different types of pots of funding to provide paid internships. So for example, a lot of the quality work that I wasn't able to mention earlier is having to do with strong workforce across the Community College District. Every single community college has invested a portion of strong workforce funds towards paid internships across all disciplines, vocational into traditional transfer programs. Additionally, VCOE also has opportunity for paid internships using separate pots of funding like their Harbor Freight grant that they were able to procure. So we are attuned to that, and we are ensuring that all of our students, in particular, with particular emphasis of our rural students, Ojai, Oakview, the 126 corridor area, to make sure that we're exposing those students to these types of opportunities and ensuring that they have access to work-based learning, and they don't have to drive 30 minutes, right, to get to those work opportunities. That we're partnering with employers in the rural areas to ensure that those students have those opportunities. I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Let me just add, because equity and access is so important to us, at Sage, we pay all our interns. We don't want that to ever be a barrier.
Mr. Barrett, if I could add something to that. Great question, and it's not exactly ready for prime time yet, but when I talked in my opening remarks about working on that other leg of the stool, which is the interaction of businesses and P-20, or education through P-20, is you're going to get a follow-up survey question about business partnerships and being part of a business partnership circle with P-20 to help generate revenues for that, and or to convince, in strengthening our partnerships, our businesses to help us with sustainability by having skin in the game in terms of money. You'll hear more about that.
Thank you, Stan. Please.
Hi, my name is Harriet Cohen. I have a consulting firm called Training Solutions, and I'd like to address a couple of comments that were made. But I'd also like to thank you, first of all, for all the great information. Two of the comments that stood out were the fact that small businesses don't know how to do internships and apprenticeships. The other comment was the people coming in who don't know how to dress, who don't know how to communicate, and are not prepared to be part of the workforce. First of all, in terms of small business, with Hub 101 and soon 505, there's a great opportunity for small businesses to learn. But more importantly, I'd like to know what's going on, whether in schools or other places, to teach people the basics of a small business. Because small business is the backbone. You guys all have huge companies, which are great, but small businesses, especially in growing an area, need to know how to start, how to survive. I mean, there's organizations like WEAVE, Women's Economic Ventures, that does a lot of great stuff with small businesses, and Hub 101 and so on. But my question is, have you reached out to some of the others, some of the small businesses? I know I could probably get about 15 or 20 trainers to come into your companies and teach people how to dress, how to talk, how to do all the stuff that they need to do. We're here, but we don't seem to be part of this as we're all small businesses. So that's my whole thing.
And I think just to your point, small business is somewhat synonymous with entrepreneurism.
And
I
it
think
doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but we are seeing the community colleges and others starting to teach to that. But from the panel, anybody like to comment?
I agree 100%, but it is a question for education.
And Julia?
And it will get thrown to the educators. So again, Julia Herman at our Career Education Center and in our VC Innovates Consortium, we are again working on this workforce readiness development certification along with the community colleges, and components of soft skills and working in smaller environments will be a part of that. Additionally, I will tell you at the high school level in our VC Innovates Consortium, we're talking a lot about project management certifications and those soft skills training curriculum. So we would love to have businesses involved as we as educators begin to examine what this will look like and how we can get our students on that road and well prepared even before they leave high school.
Can I do an addendum on that? I know VC Innovates. I've participated in several of the programs, and I'm well aware of all the great stuff that VC Innovates does. What I'm also talking about is, while getting educators trained and certifications done, you've got people who can come in right now, teach the kids how to write a resume, teach people how to present themselves in an interview, teach people how to dress, teach people what businesses want right now, instead of waiting, for certifications and some of the other stuff. While that's great, and I'm glad you're doing it, what can you do right now?
Well, I have industry liaisons in the room who will take your name and number and will give you a call tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
I was going to add to that, Oxnard Union High School District, many of the schools have these industry advisory councils, often focused around a particular group. So it's a wonderful way for small businesses, especially, to get involved and do just the thing that you're suggesting. So, thank you.
The only bilingual publication in Ventura County for the last 35 years. I feel like a kid in a candy store with such great information you're providing to us. I wanted to offer me the newspaper as a vehicle for you to communicate with almost 50% of the total population in Ventura County, which are Hispanics. You have services that you can offer them to them. They need to be aware of their services. There's a great resource also for employees to go and search opportunities within your different organizations. We have newspapers here to assist you, to help you. We want to see also more minorities, more people of color in groups like this, because we have an equity. We have a force that can assist to better our community. Be that newspaper is here to assist you. We'd be happy to catch that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel, for continuing to publish a real newspaper. It's not online. Lady over there, I think you were with Vance.
I am. My name is Liz Awa. I'm responsible for the recruiting in our command. And Vance did thoroughly answer the earlier questions, so I wanted to answer that, and then I do have a question for your panel. And for the gentleman that asked about jobs, this is full-time and internships as well as scholarships. If you go to nafc.navy.mil, and you chisel down or dig down and get to Fort Hueneme, our other 9 sister warfare centers are also on there, and they have comparable opportunities, but of course different geographic locations. So the question that I have for the panel is, can you share a tool or practice that might be a best practice for your recruiting? What has worked effectively for you?
The best is always word of mouth, but we're using everything, LinkedIn and anything you can think of. But really, it's word of mouth. I mean, referrals from folks and paying folks for those referrals when we're successful hires actually did the best for us.
being in advertising and technology, we're actually leveraging our advertising and technology capabilities and doing spotlights on our workforce, individual members of our workforce, and highlighting that they're real people, and they came from, Cal State Channel Islands, their first graduate in their family, and look at where they made it, and those are kind of some of the.
We resorted to hiring recruiters on staff, but for specific, there's a couple of specifics about certain jobs in our factory. For the factory floor workers, we use temp agencies actually in several counties, just bring sure enough people in and train them ourselves. For our engineering positions, we've been working with universities, not just locally. We rely heavily on CSU Channel Islands, but about 8 or 10 universities in the Southern California or even Northern California area to recruit. So kind of going outside the area, working with them.
Liz, do you want to highlight for us a best practice of late that we've employed that's effective in bringing personnel into the command?
So what is really helping us effectively this year that we haven't had in the past is the ability to make offers on site. In the past, we would just market to students and say, come and work for us, give us your resume. But Vance is one of the people that made some of the first offers on campus when he went out recruiting. And our supervisors, our hiring managers are able to do the same. And that's not just for full-time employees, it's also for our students. So we were at Cal State Channel Islands, for instance, one of our hiring managers did an interview and made an offer. That was for full-time, but we can do the same for students. So we're very excited as we use this new capability moving forward, and I think it will help us to recruit more effectively.
And I also, thank you, Liz. I want to highlight what Manuel was just highlighting with regard to his newspaper. We have not done as good a job as we need to in order to get the word out to the entirety of the community in Ventura County. We're underrepresented, particularly in the Hispanic community at our Navy Surface Warfare Center. And so we are working very, very hard to look at every communication path in order to reach everybody out there that would have an interest in becoming a part of the Navy team, because with that diversity comes strength, because it's different perspectives, different experiences, different ideas that are going to help us make us as strong as we need to be.
Thank you. And Stan Mantu pointed out to me that in the survey that's going to go to everyone, they're going to include the links to your addresses that you and Liz just shared with us. So you'll see that in the survey. Anyone else? We'll move on.
Hi, my name is Julie. I work for the Metropolitan Water District in the Education Department. And as we know, in this county, water is very important. Metropolitan serves most of Ventura County. We go up to Fort Wayne, but we do not include Ventura and Ojai. One of the problems we have as a public agency is we have a graying workforce. And so we will be losing a healthy % of our workforce in the next 5 years, from engineers down to press writers, down to photographers and graphic artists. Every type of job is in the public sector. And one of the problems we have had in the education department is because we cover from San Diego up here in Ventura County. I'm a product of Ventura County schools. I actually live in Oxnard, and we cannot enter. We just hit a wall when we try to come into Ventura County. We offer internships, we offer apprenticeship programs, we offer grants for the college programs, we offer preschool, TK, we offer free curriculum, all these resources. And the water agencies, for the most part, are hitting our heads against the wall because we just don't seem to be able to offer our resources here. And there was a comment that Peter made that just said, I can make myself busy by working out here in Ventura County, or I'll make myself busy and work in LA County or wherever the demand is. And I just, as a resident out here and a ratepayer out here, I come to these and I walk away and my boss goes, so do we have an entree into Ventura County education? Can we get our products out there? Can we help those teachers? Because we're gonna need engineers. We're gonna need all these, all these jobs. And all the things that were up there, I'm like, we've been trying to solve that, and I just, I get handed person to person to person at Ventura County Office of Ed, I get handed person to person to person at the school districts. And maybe the P-20 is the right place for us, but don't forget the public agencies who we have our own red tape, but we seem to be on the outside looking in going, we're gonna need these employees, we're gonna need these, and we have all this stuff we're offering. And Ventura County is a least served county in metropolitan service area. And my job is to solve it, and I just come to these and I'm like, great information, I'm excited, but I'm gonna walk away with not quite knowing how I'm gonna get involved in helping these schools get the students. We have a solar boat project that's similar to robotics. I do not have a Ventura County school in this program that teaches all about this renewable energy. For the last program, 17 years old, they don't have a school for out here. And I'm just not upset, but it's just like, there's so many wasted opportunities that are going untaken by this county, and I just feel like I had a better solution.
Julie, if you give me your card afterwards, I'll make sure it gets to the right people.
Perfect.
Okay. This will be about it. So the people that are at the mics will be able to take your questions, but we'll have to stop after that, and we'll begin over here.
Thank you. Roberto Martinez, I'm with an organization that I feel does a really good job of teaching kids both the hard skills and the soft skills. And I was really interested in all the conversation around the soft skills today, and Mr. West, you referenced grit, which I think is very important, but I'm curious from the panel, what are some of those soft skills that you think are lacking from some of the applicants you're seeing these days?
Who'd like to start? Well, I'll start with a couple. So one is the ability to show up on time. Another one is the ability to handle multiple tasks. So students learning, and I've been involved in some projects on this, so that's why I know, but being able to handle multiple things that come up in the workplace. So those are some of the skills. Another one is, as Vance pointed out, the basic writing skills, communicating skills. Scheduling is another one, just as far as being able to handle their calendars and they don't call at the last minute and say, my cat, I need a sitter for my cat, those kinds of things. But there are actually some online training programs to help create curriculum for teachers to improve the soft skills. So I think there is a lot of work, and I'm sure the panel has much better answers than I do. Anyone want to add?
You nailed it. A couple of good ones. I think also would be collaboration, ownership. One that we stress a lot is respect. Is that even in a tough social situation, you have to be able to take the high road and work as a team.
Old-fashioned shaking hands. How are you doing? We have someone who sits at the front desk, and she decided that she was going to test how many times she had to say good morning to someone before they would finally acknowledge that she was alive and say good morning to her. It took her 2 weeks, but finally broke it down for the individual. So,
good point, Mike.
The other is to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good one because I think everyone is learning very, very good phone skills, but are forgetting what computer skills are.
The other thing I would add to the communication, it's more than, so it's writing obviously, and it's oral, but it's also a sense of what everything is that we do and why we do it. So when we get interns and others that join our workforce for as short or as long as they're there, we're giving out copies of the Constitution, and we're helping them understand what that document means and why we exist as a Navy, because it's actually we stand out in front of the building when the American flag goes up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we show respect for the flag, so that you take these small steps to help institutionalize these key core values as another mechanism of improving on what oftentimes is a very weak interpersonal or soft skills foundation, so that when they come out of, they're here for just a couple of weeks or a couple of months, or maybe they're here for years, at least they're getting something there that we've contributed to help that individual become a better, more contributory person in the community.
I can back that up. And some of the best workers that have come to work for us in recent years have been ex-military. We've learned a lot of great skills that the orders know.
Okay, go
industry liaison with Ventura County Office of Education, BC and Base. And as an industry person coming into the world of education, I can speak from sort of both sides of the fence, so to speak. What I would like to leave people with is an opportunity to be part of the solution, and that is interacting with students. We have a signature event, an entree to employment. It's a dinner series, I think Juliet mentioned, or someone mentioned earlier, which is pretty much monthly and focused on specific industry sectors. Our next one is December 4th. It's the business, finance, marketing, entrepreneurship sectors. And on the subject of soft skills, it's a great way for students to start to develop those soft skills. The networking skills with other businesses, the handshakes, the keeping your eyes up, all of those things are things that we expose students to at those events. And then a highlight of some of the things I've been involved in, and thank you to our business partners, specifically Sage Publications, who Mike mentioned, they pay interns. And we have an internship program aimed at incoming seniors, which we're hoping to expand across the county at some point. And 7 of the employers where we place students this year, these are incoming seniors in high school, not in college. 7 of those employers have hired students because of the quality of their work, because of their ethic. And so it's a rosy picture, it's not a dour picture. Some of these students are amazingly impressive individuals, and we just need to wrap around them as a community and do what each of us can do best to raise them up and give them the opportunities that they need, and for it to be a win-win-win, for them to win, for you as business owners to win. So, thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. And you've been waiting quite a long time.
My name is Nikki Richardson. I'm the development director at the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza, the largest theater here between LA and San Francisco. And I'm sure I don't have to tell this audience that the arts are here to uplift the community, especially at a time like this. We support your employees and provide a thriving community. The arts are known to reduce crime and to improve math and science scores. So I didn't hear the word art mentioned today at all from anyone. And I'm curious, what can we do at the Civic Arts Plaza to bridge this gap, to provide, to create more of a partnership between business and the arts, for one, and how do we put the A back in STEM?
Anyone from the education side?
I could not agree more. That is why we should all learn to say STEAM instead of STEM. And anyone who's familiar with an author by the name of Daniel Pink, who wrote a book called The Whole New Mind, will tell you how hugely you could leverage your cognitive abilities by using both sides of the brain.
And if you know David Souza, published by Corwin, this book on STEAM is incredibly important, and I would encourage folks. The other thing, though, that I would say is another hat that I wear is president of the Caneo School Foundation, and we partnered with the Cavalier to put on the All-District Music Festival, which is the largest music festival of kids anywhere in the country. It's absolutely extraordinary, right? Right, Terry? Terry McCallum is the producer of it, so that's where business can get involved. We know we're focused in the Caneo, but something that's very important in terms of the work that happens at the Cavalier, and allowing those students to stand on a professional stage that we've got up in Thousand Oaks is absolutely life-altering.
And I know certainly California Lincoln University has a robust arts program as well. So a lot of things happen, but thank you, Nikki, for bringing that up and reminding us. Last question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm Chip Frazier. I'm a retired teacher, former president of the Missouri Unified Education Association. And I want to say, first of all, thank you. All the bad news we get, it's good to get good news, and this is good news. I'm just build up possibilities, so I'm just excited for my entire.
If you couldn't hear Chip, he was complimenting me.
I always make space. So I wanted to say, first of all, that I wanted to say how much Stan Mantooth and Tiffany Morse have meant to the vocational and career education. And I want to put a comment out to Jerry Beckerman, who created a program called Segway a few years ago, which is great. And I wanted to address the panel on some of the things we said when we talked about earlier, the hard skills and the soft skills. I love where the hard skills are going. I know how important it is. But the soft skills, I'm going to be one of the ones who's a champion and advocate for that. And I think what we're missing in schools, and we have been missing for years, is a program very similar to what we had years ago called civics. Maybe some of you are not old enough to remember that. You happen to know there's a program on civics that is free. It's got 416 daily lesson plans and a book behind it, and it's called It's My Life. But I wanted to put that out there. It's a free program. If anybody wants to use it, it's available. So thank you very much again. This has been sensational. I enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you, Chip. And for our absolute last question, who knows who can do it in 15 seconds, right, Bob? No, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really have a question. My name is Bob Rust. I'm a trustee for the local school district. And the amount of money that California is putting into public education is embarrassing. And you talk about a leaky pipeline. We're not going to have a pipeline if all of our school districts end up going bankrupt. Pleasant Valley School District is cutting counselors. We've cut nurses. We've cut janitors. We've cut everybody we can. Next step is more crowded classrooms. If you don't like that idea, please talk to your state legislators. We need more money in California's public K-12 system. We are starving.
Thank you, Bob. Any final comments from the panel on anything? Please.
I think Hillary said something that I think should resonate with all of us. We all, each individually, have a hand in this and an opportunity to affect this in one way or another, whether that's through our classrooms, or that's through our businesses, or that's through just individual interaction and activity and investment. Our future depends on it.
Thank you.
Can I just
Mike?
one last piece, which is, we fundamentally believe that education is the cornerstone of democracy, especially in these times. Sometimes we feel like things are out of control or we don't have control over things. The reality is we have control. And it starts in our own backyard, in our own classrooms, supporting our teachers and educators, talking and advocating on behalf of public education as well as good private education. Good education is going to keep this country strong. And when you listen to folks in the military who talk about what is one of the most critical threats, it's the fact that we aren't funding and supporting education. We need to do more. And forums like this help.
I
think there's one thing that's essential to a lot of what I've heard today is the need for business, private business, to be involved. And it's a bit of a theme, but this is a challenge to everyone who is part of private industry, business or industry. Get involved, join us in working with colleges, the elementary schools, the high schools, the adult schools, anything and everyone to help to change things, to help to add your voice.
Thank you, and don't go anywhere because we have a very exciting document for you, and to introduce that is Stan Mantooth. Bring him back up. That does it for me. Thank you all for your time.
Let's hear it again for David Marin and our panelists. First of all, let me applaud all of you for staying around. I see a lot more empty seats out here, and the good news is we're actually wrapping up early. A couple of comments. One about civics education. which is critical to building good citizens. We have a new, what we call history social science framework that's being rolled out just this last year. And as opposed to when kids might get a dose of civics somewhere in their high school years, maybe not until they're senior, it's now embedded in every single grade level from kindergarten through 12th grade. So we're very happy about that. Those of you who know me know how strongly and passionately I feel about the arts. And so no disrespect for the arts today, it was simply that our focus is on education and business connections. So you can see where it might be a little drier in that regard. I want to talk about the publication you're about to receive. A couple of years ago, we issued a report to the community that was all about K-12 education. And this year, in conjunction with this summit, we decided to do it a little differently. We wanted to expand the scope. So we joined forces with Cal Lutheran University and Cal State Channel Islands and the Community College District to create a report that gives the full perspective on education in Ventura County from elementary through graduate school. And that report you will find is full of stats and stories and a particular focus on how our institutions are working to prepare students for careers here in Ventura County. And I want to thank, again, I recognize the PR people that did the heavy lifting. I want to again thank the public relations folks that came together to bring you this publication, and in particular Cal State Channel Islands for its formatting. And I know you will find it an interesting read and a useful resource. And if you ask nicely as you leave, we might give you 2 of them. And if you are an executive director of one of our chambers, we'd like you to take a dozen. So as you exit today, you'll each get a copy or more of that report. And we're going to post it online as well with the other materials that were presented this morning. Hopefully you're happy. We didn't ask you to fill out something on paper by way of feedback. You are going to get a survey, and we really would appreciate your responses. I think those of you who stayed till the end understood how much meat there was in listening to you. And not only your questions, but your comments and your reactions to what's going on with this dynamic. You can find all of this on our website. And by the way, you can get to a heck of a lot of other websites through P-20. That's one of the other things we want to be, is a clearinghouse for information. vcp20.org/summit for that particular information. But I would invite you to go to the main website and spend a little time there. I think you'll find it even better than Macy's. That wraps up our summit. Before we go, let me thank you again for being here and taking an important step forward for our community. And let's keep this ball rolling.